Hello.
And we are live.
Just in time.
Greetings.
Just in time. Okay.
Just logging in now.
Well, hello and welcome everybody back to the adventures of the crew of the USS Navis. Say hello, everybody.
Yes, hello.
Hello,
everybody.
Something moss.
Something moss, because apparently the only ones watching Twitch at this moment are indeed the plants.
Yes, the
So that's
powerless.
That's how it starts. But anyways, yes, we had a break last week because I did that very human thing of having time off. And I was severely ashamed for it. But here we are again, ready to get straight back into it. So, yep, I hope everybody is ready and raring to go. So, just a quick check to make sure that everybody is signed into Foundry. And everybody who wants to be is signed up to Video Ninja to hear all the lovely music and sound effects we got going on. Do you like the semi-theme music, by the way? It's just adventurous enough, but also just silly enough to let you know exactly who you're dealing with, I like to think.
It's the most sensible crew in all of Starfleet, except for the other ones.
As long as you discount the rest of Starfleet, it's all good. Right.
Ooh,
yes.
That's something new. Do I have a milestone?
Do you have a what? Sorry, pardon?
I said that's something new on my notes page. It's like I don't recall adding a milestone.
Yes. You completed an
I'd see
episode.
the doctor about that.
Yep, you've completed a full episode now as your character, so you've gained a small milestone. So, like the rest, you can either use your milestone to make small changes to your character if you deem it necessary, or you can hang on until a medium-sized milestone comes along, which allows you to do more changes, or you can wait for the big one, which is after about 6 episodes in for your character, when you can make a large change.
Be careful with that. I had in sickbay earlier a person who was suffering after ingesting a big one too quickly.
I'm gonna presume you've already added in my extra reputation, or do I need to add that myself?
Ooh, I have added it myself.
Good. I don't want to mess with it. It's just like I don't want to touch in case things go wrong.
No, characters all start with a 10 reputation, and seeing as he's done one mission now, your character, Ensign / Mr. Jonathan Edwards, has now gained a point of reputation. So he did a job. He did it pretty well. No discommendations for it. So no bad notes, no strikes on his record. So it's all good.
On that note, I changed mine because I took gallantry rather than the
I don't know with Mr. Edwards. I mean, he did sabotage comms to the ship.
and he is a change.
You
Yeah,
say
but I didn't
sabotage.
give him a report, so.
Sabotage invites intent. It was more of a whoops moment, I do believe.
Yes, that's what he wants us to think.
Hey, I mean to go on. As
That's what he
my
wants us to
career
think.
starts.
Quiet, changeling.
I've got the first roll tonight. It's
Quiet,
gonna be another
changeling.
double fault as well.
Has anyone noticed our first officer's acting a bit different?
You could be a changeling.
I dub Mr. Edwards acting ensign. All systems are still locked to him, but they don't shock him anymore.
That's what
That
you
is a
think.
really harsh way for Starfleet to induct its new ensigns. Every incorrect command you put in will deal a small electrical jolt. Make sure you get it right next time.
It was apparently a specific request from Captain Jean-Luc Picard. He called it the Starfleet Wesley Act.
It's like that.
The circuit breakers arriving
Definitely
Tuesday.
a Wesley moment.
Yep.
Alright then, well, before we begin, is there any questions anybody wants to ask before I dip into the summary of what
any
happened
other-
last time? Yep.
Is there any other pictures of Davis's character that doesn't make him look like he's about to bite into a pot?
I like that one.
He's not biting into a pot, he's singing into it.
Singing into the saucepan.
Yeah, singing into the saucepan.
Let's
He
zoom
looks
in
like
so
he's just
everybody
gonna take
watching
a
can
chunk
actually
He's
out.
see what we mean.
singing into the saucepan.
We misunderstood Alex's question. He didn't mean the picture of Lieutenant Commander King of Vipers. He meant any picture of Davis.
There are no pictures of me. I am a figment of everyone else's imagination.
There are
I
plenty
have
of pictures.
Idiot.
I have
loads
you
of
as a friend on LinkedIn. I say lies.
There are lots of pictures
Damn
of
it.
you, Davis. It's just you can't see the face because you've always got a pot in front of you that you're eating.
He's not eating a pot, he's singing into a saucepan.
See, though, we all know that's
I'll
a
have a
gravy
new
pot.
picture up in 10.
You know what this means? Apparently you're not a real person until you're on LinkedIn.
Ooh.
I'll accept that.
That would affect Texas's abortion laws.
Ooh, that was a quick and very deliberate strike there. That was a very in and out. You were like a rapier with that one there. In and out. Take a jab,
Have you know?
retract.
This
Let's
is
ignore
Starfleet.
America's privacy laws and go back to fiction.
This is Star Trek, and if there's one thing Star Trek has never done, it's politics.
Yeah, keep your politics out of Star Trek, damn it. In which case, I have no plot for tonight, so we're going to have to call this early. Well, damn it. No, seriously.
Speedruns.
Okay, anything else anybody wants to ask, or wants an update on, or a recap on? No, okay. Smart beans. Just turn this down a
Have we submitted our report to show that we're better than the Bellerophon again?
That is an ever-going, an ongoing competition, I do believe. For those who don't know what we're talking about, who haven't tuned in before, the Bellerophon is one of the 3 ships, as well as this one, the Navis, that is attached to Narendra Station, Starbase 364, just outside of the Shackleton Expanse. And the captain of the Bellerophon is... How would you guys best describe, in one word, the captain of the Bellerophon?
Arse.
Alright.
Missing presumed changeling.
Yes, that's one word.
Yeah, it's one word on the ship.
Captain Blackford.
Just because
that
you
was it.
don't understand Trill, and I can get that in one word Trill, that's a you problem.
Captain's log. Gosh darn it, we're amazing. Unlike the Bellerophon, you can't get to warp 2 without causing a cosmic catastrophe. I believe they call this slander. But hey,
Only if it's not true.
only if it's not true. Good point, thank you.
Only victors write history.
And you are in the only warship of the fleet. The other ship being the USS Virtue, I do believe. Have I got that right? Is it the Virtue? Ships, I'm not looking at Narendra Station. Starfleet ships, it is the Venture, not the Virtue. It begins with a V. Got a U in it.
The Virtue is the one with 3 shuttlecrafts. Faith, Hop, and Charity, and the greatest of them is Hop.
Yeah, and since we're on the subject of Narendra Station, if we all cast our minds back, it is a dual. It is a station shared between both the Federation and the Klingon Empire. So there are Klingons on board the station. In fact, they they created the majority of the station, and they currently have one ship attached to the station, and that is the IKS Mapui, captained by, if I can just get the list of folks up, that would be Captain Akul, who is everybody's good friend. So unlike most Klingons, he actually enjoys exploration and not battle. So there we go. Right then, so as a little summary of what happened last time. You guys were given the orders to proceed to the Bacchus system to investigate strange power reading there, and all sorts of tomfoolery followed, where you discovered that the planet of Bacchus 4, I do believe, was in fact not a planet, but a massive machine in space. And it appeared to be of rather ancient origin. Sadly, when you finally accessed the system to control the quote-unquote tractor beams that were holding the Navis and another Klingon ship in orbit, you ended up activating a failsafe system which ended up destroying the planet and trying to take most of the system, the Bacchus system, with it. Thankfully, you were able to avert the total system destruction. But the planet of Bacchus 3 and the secrets it kept was unfortunately destroyed, except for one little thing that you guys managed to get away with, which was a crystalline matrix which appeared to be a computer core of some sort, which has since been handed over to Narendra Station's science teams for a good old poke and prod. Now, as far as timeline go, that particular episode, in the Bacchus system, was based 1 week after the events in the Star Trek Deep Space Nine episode where Odo killed the Changeling, and just before the Changeling died, it said, "We are everywhere," basically. So that's the current state of the Federation as we find it. They know they've been infiltrated by the Changelings, or the Founders from the Gamma Quadrant, and so paranoia is now rampant. And speaking of paranoia, at the very end of the last mission, as you were coming out of the Bacchus system, towing the other Klingon ship with you, you were halted on your return journey by an Admiral Bana Stoker, who asked you to stay quiet. Well, not asked you, ordered you all to stay quiet about the specifics of the mission you've just undertaken. So, any questions about all of that?
Seems clear.
Okay, cool. So, we jump ahead by about 2 weeks. And it's actually been 2 days since the Klingons, against the Federation's wishes, invaded Cardassian space. So this is the beginnings of the first rift between the Klingons and the Klingon Empire and the Federation. So at the moment, on Narendra Station, things are still going on, but now both parties are viewing each other with... I don't want to say suspicion, because that's kind of the wrong word. The Klingons are now viewing... Well, the Klingons are viewing everyone with suspicion, because blood screening is now going on. Mostly from the Klingons, who are seeming to ramp up their efforts to keep the peace, as they put it, on Narendra Station. Yes.
So a few of us were trying to kind of build relationships with the Klingons on the station during our downtimes.
Yes.
I think in particular, Commander Andrews was well set up for doing so, and Natala was trying to follow suit a little bit.
Yes. And you've also made friends with Captain Akul, so...
Yes. Basically, are things sort of equally strained across the board, or is it very factional?
Well, the advantage you guys have is that you've been working alongside the Klingons for some time now. At least a good couple of... Let me see, when did you do Welcome to Narendra Station? Then it was...
The Klingons, when are they not factional?
Well,
So
yeah.
you've been about a month, if not slightly more, since your first posting to Narendra Station. So you've gotten to know a good few of them, and they all still treat those that they view as honourable individuals with friendship, as far as it can be determined from Klingons. So Captain Akul is still very friendly, but whenever you meet him, he always looks a bit, I want to say, guilty. He looks like sometimes he wants to come over and speak to you guys and share some stories like he has been previously, but then he looks over at his Klingon compatriots and he kind of decides against actually conversing with any of you and goes over to his fellow Klingons, who are always watching people as they come through the door when they're on the station. Now, the security force, the station security, is made up of equal parts Federation and Klingon. So for the moment, everything is staying reasonably good as far as the peace is concerned. Someone's obviously keeping the Klingons, I'm not going to say comfortable. There's obviously tensions going on, but someone is managing to keep those tensions cool.
Does anybody have a note of the name of the Klingon lady in charge of the martial training that Andrew said?
Yes. She would be Lady Jadot. And as you may or may not have gained the impression, since she is in charge of training all Klingons, and indeed anybody who wants to train underneath her whilst on the station, she has a very straightforward viewpoint. You either have my respect or you don't. And since Andrews and Natala, to a small extent Nova as well, have all earned Lady Jadak's respect, so she's still willing to talk to you no matter what the grumblings of the other Klingons are. Because as far as she's concerned, if they have a problem, they can come to her with it, and she knows that she can whoop all their butts. So, she has that confidence that she carries around with herself as like, you're gonna actually contradict me, are you? No, I didn't think so. Off you go. As far as Nova and Lady Jadak are concerned, Nova's had a couple of interesting run-ins with Lady Jadak in that she's not asked, she's demanded Nova attend a few sparring sessions. And she's never said anything to Nova about what she thinks about her acrobatic hijinks. So, and Nova finds Jadak difficult to get a read on because she's very stony. She's very in control of her emotions. So Nova herself probably doesn't know what to make of Lady Jadak because she doesn't know if she's viewing her with positive or negative emotions. So there you go.
It's your go anyway, because it's polite to do so.
Yeah. Caval, you've still been keeping up with the resident Orion, Rayner, and have both been swapping piloting stories. He was very impressed with how Caval was able to pilot basically a wounded Klingon bird of prey out of the destruction of a planet. So Rayner's saying that he's going to have to try and find some way, any way, of topping him for that.
Good luck.
Good luck indeed, yeah. He actually does say, yeah, wish me luck, I may not come out of this one alive. So there we go. Any other questions about life on the station that anybody wants to ask me before we get on?
Do we know what?
Oh,
Sorry.
that was two of you. So, Gareth, go first.
Do we? Okay.
Oh, no. Jan, you just started, so that's fine. Jan, go ahead.
Do we know of any sort of exit strategy should relationship with the Klingons break down completely?
Ooh, good question. For that, you would have to maybe ask the Admiral or the Captain. Now, Caval is in a very interesting position when it comes to asking the Admiral. So for those who don't remember, and I'm sure you all do, Caval Fazanan is currently seeing, if not actually outright courting, is he?
Life is short.
Life is short. So, yeah, the Admiral's assistant, Lieutenant Shore Sharissa, yes, who's also an Orion, not an Orion, no, I'm right. No, not an Orion. Orions are green.
Andorian.
I'm colorblind. The Andorians.
An Orion would be interesting as well. That's another problem.
I'm very sorry to all of my Andorian friends. Whew, that was a cultural faux pas there. Yes, as both of them are Andorians, yes, they're compatible. But yeah, as you say, life is short, which is interesting. So yes, Caval does have a means of trying to ask that question without actually asking the Admiral. So if he asks Shore about that, all Shore will say in return is that the Admiral at this point in time is trying her best to maintain her good relations with the Klingon staff here on Narendra Station, most notably, of course, General Kargan, who's the man in charge of the Klingons. But Shore obviously looks concerned. So, yeah, it's uncertain. Gareth, you were going to say something.
I'm sure you remember the most important plot point from Bacchus' Irresistible Call was, of course, me getting some new interesting plants to experiment on.
Interesting. They could be perfectly ordinary.
Well, they draw nourishment from radiation in the way most plants draw from photosynthesis. I consider that interesting. And also potentially compatible with my experiments from the energy moss as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's basically what I've been doing for most of the 2 weeks. Seeing if I can sort of start comparing the abilities to work out where I could potentially create some sort of hybrid that I can have a bit more control of the exact rate and what it and efficiency of the various energy and radiation absorption of these plants and mosses.
Cool. Yeah. That so far yielded no results, but obviously initial experiments do look promising.
Yep. There's a reason one of my values is think of the long term.
Was there somebody else who wanted to ask a question? Nope. Okay. So, the Navis is still currently docked at Narendra Station. Did you have a question, Webby?
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, the only thing, I don't know if you covered it while I was away, is that can we subtly leave some information for blah 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 blah, what's his name? The Klingon captain.
Oh yeah,
just like
cool.
leave something at the bar to say that if he does wish to speak, is that we are working together. We are still working together, no matter what the situations are, etc. And that if we can arrange for a suitable location where he's more than welcome to join, off record.
Actually, an opportunity might well be during one of the training simulations down in the Klingon area anyway, since we're visiting to be in sparring, we could arrange for him to join us in one of the simulations, which would be an opportunity for some private conversation.
Yeah, cool. No problems there. So yeah, he might take you up on that one day. You don't know. But for now. Actually, I'll stay. So, orders are apparently coming in. But nothing urgent. Apparently, you guys are going to ship out within the next couple of hours. So the ship is just going through some pre-launch checks. So some of the crew are on board, getting stuff ready, turning things over, running diagnostics, as is protocol. So the command staff are on call, basically, going to and from the ship, making sure all the departments are getting themselves ready, that they've got all the supplies necessary to carry out whatever mission you've got coming up ahead of you. While... Go on, sorry?
Slot 7.
What was that? Sorry, I didn't
get
catch
it
that.
Right when you... Bravo, get it right when you're putting these things back in the right way, back together. Slot 7 into post Bravo. Right, you'll figure it out. Back to the pint.
I just imagined there Viper just threw his hands up in the air and going, you know what, you'll figure it out.
What's the worst that could happen?
As another example of cross-franchise quoting, no, this one goes there, that one goes there, right?
How would we clean up the mess?
And there's another cross-franchise quote. Let's see how many more we can fit in before we get taken off air. I mean, end the night. Anyway. Lieutenant Natala has just come back onto the ship and has got a pad in front of her and is going through the science department manifest, making sure that everybody has got everything they need for their departments to run. And Natala is just kind of looking at her notes. She knows you know the ship so well now that you just going on autopilot. You've just come through from the dock, so you're now on board the ship and going towards the turbo lift. And as you ask for the turbo lift to take you to your office, as the doors are closing, you hear, "Wait! Hold the door! Hold the door!"
Who's to hold the door, I suppose.
So yeah, Natala looks up from her notes and just kind of puts her hand in the way of the door as it's closing. As you see a human woman, dark-skinned, with kind of curly, frizzy hair. She's carrying one big briefcase, more like a suitcase almost, and under her arm is another case, and she's got a big stack of data pads in the other hand, and she's busily rushing forward to try and get to the turbo lift in time, and she just kind of almost collapses into the turbo lift, and she goes, "What? Thanks."
A civilian dress, or?
No, Starfleet. In fact, she is wearing a blue-coloured uniform with Lieutenant Pips, and she gives the deck number that she's after as the doors close and the turbo lift goes off. Whew, thanks. Almost missed that. Whew. I've just been posted. Sorry. My stuff. Oh, wait. She looks Natala up and down. Denarbulan, Lieutenant Commander. I know who you are. And she starts shifting rapidly through her data pads. You would be... Oh God, where is it? Lieutenant Commander Natala. Right. Gotcha.
Yes, indeed.
Whew. Oh, nice to meet you. My name... And she tries to shake Natala's hand with her right hand, but that one's holding the stack of pads. So then she kind of moves to use her left hand. That one's still holding one of her cases. The one from under her arm slips out, and she just goes, "Oh, damn it," and just drops the whole suitcase and shakes your hand with her left hand. Sorry, Emilia Tannenbaum. I'm the new Counsellor.
Oh, good to meet you.
Yeah, you too. I'm excited to be working here.
Would you like any assistance making introductions? I can. put you in contact with a few people.
Oh, that would be great. But would that make me look unprofessional? I mean, I have everybody's profiles and information. I should really know everybody by sight that I should. No offense.
Well, if you'd rather just get yourself set up somewhere and call people in for appointments, I'm sure
Well-
it'll be a little bit more officious, but it would get the job done.
Good idea. I suppose I'll just have to find my office first. Where is my office? And she tries to find another pad. Deck plans. Oh, right. I'm getting off on the wrong deck. Right. Computer, send me to deck, and I'm gonna... Matt doesn't actually know where the Counsellor's office is.
Deck X.
Is it just
So we will
sick bay, or is it-
surreptitiously insert a deck number here.
Hang on, let's have a look on the Akira class deck plans, and I will give you.
I did actually have a rollable table of deck plans for the random deck hit. So let me see if I can get there faster. No, I can't because I can't resize the window. Non-coms, primary shield operators. Junior officers and crew quarters, science lab, so it's going to be probably around deck... Oh, Counsellor's office is on deck 4, there we go. I was going to deck 5, that's sickbay. Okay, deck 4, computer.
So, aren't you guys still moving around the signs to confuse people?
It's entirely possible. But yeah, so isn't deck 4 mainly holosuites and such? So
Yeah, on the one that I'm looking at is yeah, the
that would
primary
actually
deck.
be well suited.
yeah,
for
for
Counsellor's
councillors.
office.
Yeah.
Deck
You
4,
could see
sick
the
bay.
counsellor while telling people you're off for leisure.
Deck 4,
Proud-
sick bay, chief medical officer's office. Wow, try saying that quick. Primary science labs, junior and senior officers' quarters, Counsellor's office. And you guys just said, what? I missed that. What was it? Wait, she's on my floor.
Out of interest, how is the crew evaluation report going?
You've got a lot of crew, so...
Like, do you have a administrative skills role?
It's got a stamp that says the word changeling, which he puts on random ones.
Reason command, would that be for?
Reason command, I'll go with that. Your ability to be able to manage your
Marvel, any
workload.
costs as a value to throw that in?
Well,
But
That's
it's
not
just
challenging.
Right, what about
Yeah.
focus of Starfleet protocols? So I know that
That'll do.
paperwork.
that'll
Yes.
do.
This is where he rolls nothing but consequences. It turns out the entire crew is changelings.
No, he's registered them all as changelings. They're all human.
No.
Wow, start as you mean to
He's
go on.
Mhm.
He's submitted every single one of them for reassignment.
So-
Accidentally.
According to that, personnel reports are going very well indeed. You're ahead.
Yeah.
You've heard good
Yeah.
things about Lieutenant Commander Replicator.
Yeah, I'm just going to kind of like drop a subspace message to can't remember his name now. He's only been gone an episode.
Loss.
Captain Blair, Captain
Navis.
Lost, and been like, like 2 weeks, and I've got it down to less than 100.
With the
Works
help of
better.
Commander Replicator.
For those who don't remember.
Of Deck 6.
At which point, I think it's a really good time to submit the one from engineering for approval.
You guys are just looking to get all your momentum stacked before we start, aren't you?
What else is new?
Nah.
I always envisioned Vipers as more of a less of the paperwork, more of the hands-on kind of stuff. But
Oh yeah, none of them are filled in.
why has the
I
captain just been
submitted
made
them
dead?
For approval.
Second to the council.
Contrary to what my
doing.
compatriots here are doing, which is
It's
messing
gonna be a
about.
long night.
She is not, in fact, the dead. So the new counsellor arrives at deck 4, which conveniently, since it's the primary science labs, is pretty much where Natala was more than likely going anyway. So they kind of part ways at an intersection, and she goes, right, yep, nice meeting you. We'll meet maybe in a more official capacity later.
Yeah.
This is the way to my office, right?
It's
okay, I'll find my way. And off she pedals. So, yeah. So unless there's anything else anybody else wants to do in the meantime, it's a big ship, accidents happen. You guys. So the ship is the crew are coming on in drips and drabs. All the departments are starting to get up and running, ready to move out. The captain's on board and is starting to do her own checks and whatnot. And things are going as they usually do, all timely and spick and span and Bristol fashion. Now, as the time to launch is still a couple of hours away, people are taking it easy. The crew manifests and reports are going well. And it's around about that time that you get a message. All senior staff, please report to the mess hall. Repeat, all senior bridge staff, please report to mess hall.
That's everyone bar me, more or less.
No, you're bridge
your
staff.
comms officer. Your
Yeah, but I'm not senior.
Well,
Yeah, but
you
you're
know,
bridge
we
staff.
don't have any senior comms, and so by default you are senior comms.
And the captain wants to keep an eye on you.
Oh god.
So, let's change the ambience here.
Mr. Minoko has summoned us all here.
Hi.
Now, if intelligence on other starships hasn't led me wrong, Mr. Minoko is secretly some sort of Star Trek equivalent of a Time Lord, disguised as a bartender.
So let's turn the night bridge off and go to 10. So, you guys are have arrived in the mess hall. All wondering, even the captain, as she walks in, she kind of looks up from her data pad and just looks around with a confused look on her face. But then just sits down. Mr. Minoko, of course, being the civilian in charge of the lounge, just gives you all a nod while he's busy cleaning a glass.
Can't help we're missing a few critical people, like Bravo, Natak, Bravo, all of my chips, Bravo, Latude, Bravo.
They're not senior bridge crew.
And yet they're probably more competent than the actual senior bridge crew.
You know Latude is head of night shift. Right?
Yeah, and yet not on the bridge.
Yeah, but you need to appease him or he'll
Is it-
release his army from the
is it-
buffers.
Yeah. Latude is effectively a department head, but doesn't have a bridge position, so wouldn't
Yet.
apply.
Now,
I know.
eventually,
He reports
sorry.
to me indirectly.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say,
kind of.
Navis technically isn't bridge. He's always he's the monkey.
Chief engineer. I'm
Yeah,
on
you're-
I'm on command crew regardless.
I say you're the engine monkey.
Well,
Chief engine
Oh.
monkey. I'll see you.
Commander Vibers, would you like her to? Would you like Mr. Edwards to assist in some of your works for the next few weeks?
I do
sure
have
there's a
some
lot of,
carbon filters that need cleaning.
Yeah, there's
all right. I'll
carbon
be
scrubbers that need
character.
cleaning.
How you remove the carbon from the carbon without affecting the carbon? Oh, that's a big problem.
you hear the doors to the mess hall open, and in walks a new face. And as she walks in with a load of pads on her, she's carrying a load of pads, she just walks in without looking up, and when the door does close behind her, she looks up. Oh, I do count as senior bridge crew now, right? I'm supposed to be here? I'm the counsellor? Oh. Have I got
Captain.
protocol wrong?
Captain, if you didn't request this, nor I assume, Nova, you didn't request a senior bridge staff meeting.
Nova's asleep.
Sorry, Natala.
No, I was wondering whether it might have been the new counsellor who just came aboard. Possibly she might have summoned us to the hall and then not been able to find it immediately.
Hi, I'm the new counsellor. Emilia Tannenbaum. Nice to meet you all. I think I'm meant to be here?
Do you
Captain?
feel you need to be here?
I hope I need to be here, because otherwise I've just made a big old fool of myself. Again.
I'd grab a drink and join in.
Ah,
Oh, good.
excellent. She kind of pulls up a chair. Now, contrary to what this looks like, rather than it being 3 separate tables, you've got a conjoined table going on here. A long joined table.
Mr. Monoko has the unearthly ability to meld tables together at will.
Wow. All the senior bridge crew. Let me just say I'm really excited to be talked over as if I'm not here. Okay. I'll just, I'll order a drink.
Apologies, Counsellor, I don't mean to be rude, and I'm sure none of the rest of us do. There just seems to be some confusion over who called the bridge crew here and why.
Oh, well, I'm not sure I know, but in that case. There's a sudden flickering and then lowering of the lights, and you hear the computer state, what was it? Notes. Full system diagnostic now in effect. Lockdown initiated.
Bravo, what did you do?
Yeah, I think
When Vibers when Vibers taps his comm badge in order to say that, Viber, Bravo, what did you do? You get a blip, not exactly that sound that comm badges make when they can't get a signal. It's the signal sent and received and sent back. Vibers, this makes a horrible amount of sense to you because it seems the full system diagnostic has just been tripped.
Okay, good news, everyone. We're on station power at the moment and station life support.
Which is fine.
Bad news. That actually sounds like a full ship diagnostic. We may be here some time.
what would have triggered a full ship diagnostic, Commander?
Considering you guys, I'll just interject a little bit to help Navis out here. Considering a full system diagnostic was being run in bits, mostly department from department, it's not unusual for a system diagnostic to go off, but usually you do it when there's next to nobody on board and well before you start to get ready to go out.
And
I'm
usually
not
I
normally
get
when
told.
I'm not normally when a mysterious gathering of the bridge crew that nobody seems to have actually called has happened in that exact area.
Not as a matter of course, no.
I'm not sure, Commander. Usually for these sorts of things, I'm the one setting it off, and I know in advance.
Nova, Natala, can you attempt to break
Main comms
break
are
the
down.
system out of its...
Bravo to
We can see
Commander
what
Vibers.
comms we can get.
Bravo to Commander Vibers.
Go on, Bravo. What did you do?
Uncertain, Commander. I was running a low-level diagnostic check, and then something happened and triggered the full system-wide diagnostic. I'd like to say that we could get everything back up and running again. I've just managed to get the comm system back on, but they sound a bit scratchy because there's a lot of computer processing going on in the background. It looks like all the doors have locked themselves in to basically keep anyone from wandering outside of their department zones. No one
Right.
appears to be in any distress. Internal sensors are still working.
Okay,
We're just all stuck in our individual rooms.
go through the normal restart process for when we've come out of space dock, and see if you can get an external comm line out to the chief of the port. They might be able to speed things along from their side of the interlocks.
Will
Not
do,
very
sir.
much we can do, and don't you
Vipers.
dare switch us to independent life support.
No, sir.
Can you ask if you can search through ship's records or something and find out exactly where the signal for the bridge and senior crew to meet up here right before this happened came from?
I will work on that immediately, sir. Hang tight.
Thank you.
There's not currently any sign of any danger to the ship or the crew. I'll keep you apprised of our progress.
What, out of interest, is the command structure? Realistic, is Latude actually on the command structure?
He's the chief transporter operator, so...
Yeah. We've never actually worked out who's third officer, fourth, fifth, etc.
No, we
so
haven't,
potentially he would be on the chain of command. So if he's not in
pretty
the area,
far down.
Well, I don't know if he's kind of like the senior of the one that's not on the bridge. Because it's effectively, my response now would be to communicate with whoever is left on the bridge, even if it's Direxia, to see what the status is from the bridge position, and also to see whether we can get transporters back online.
I was going to suggest something similar, yeah, just to get us off.
Okay, well, at the moment, communication is only available back to engineering. So Bravo promises that he'll get right onto it as soon as he can get the people spare to actually take a look. But right now, all the doors have shut, so people are a bit isolated from each other. So it's the engineering lot are moving around via Jeffrey's tubes at the moment, trying to free everything up. The counsellor kind of puts her hand up, almost like a school kid trying to ask a question. So, are we stuck in here?
Yes.
For now.
Right.
It could be worse. At least there's real drinks in here.
You're funny. Your file didn't say funny. Gonna have to update the file. Well, I was going to try to introduce myself to the senior crew, so, wow, this isn't exactly the way I pictured doing it. This is kind of awkward. But,
Oh, not so awkward. We have plenty of time.
So it seems.
Never drink the coffee.
Well, they taught us in the medical school that usually a way of taking people's minds off things is a good way to maybe downplay the stress a bit. I mean, we're not going anywhere, right? Maybe we could play a game. You know, pass the time. No? Yeah?
What did you have in mind?
What do people think?
What did you have in
You
mind?
seem a little on edge for a counsellor.
I'm
It's a first.
new. Yeah, thanks, sir. It's my first day. I'm 2 years out of Starfleet Medical, so this is my first starship posting. I don't want it to go wrong.
I assume that both the captain and I did have a recommendation that we are receiving a new counsellor.
Yeah, you remember
Wasn't
having a
just-
notice through that you were expecting a new counsellor through. You just didn't realise that when they said new counsellor, they meant brand
New
spanking
counsellor.
shiny, just out of
Fresh.
the wash.
Oh God! It's the picture of Latude with O'Brien with the freshly sealed human still in the packaging.
I know a nice, easy game if people are up for it. Pontoon?
Does it involve drinks?
It can do. In fact, as the ship's counselor, I would very much recommend drinks. Very much drinks.
This makes sense
Almost
to me.
certainly drinks. Yeah, drinks are a good idea. Lieutenant.
Mr. Minoko, would you mind setting us up for the long haul?
As you wish, Commander. I'll get you some drinks. The usual, I take it, from everybody? Of course it'll be the usual. You guys are sticklers for routine. Not a creative bone in your entire bodies.
Mr. Minoko, I have lost respect for you.
And I know how easy you are to tease, Commander, so I score that one for me. Go easy on the newbie. She looks greener than an Orion trader. Thank you. That wasn't racist at all.
It's legitimate that she's feeling that way. Some of it in there.
No, so you're trying to get a read on the counselor, yeah?
Yeah, staring at her with suspicion as well.
Staring at her with suspicion. Narrowed eyes.
Yeah.
Bit of a growl. And in pints,
Dr.
Orion
Order,
Ale, as
so-
the captain's here, so no Tal Shiar specials. Yep, good idea.
Doctor asks for Nycoberry juice.
Okay. So I'm going to move us to a different place. I can just change the appearance of this a sec. However, it is stuck at loading at 18%. No, there we go. Whee! The poker table. So obviously, we're not playing poker.
The screen's just gone grey for me.
Just give it a
Wait a
minute.
Wait a minute.
You know the old saying, standing on the shoulders of giants?
Yep.
I don't know why that came to me.
So, what we're going to do is we're going to
Poor
trial.
Fazanan's
Sorry, what was that, Webby?
I was just about to say, poor Fazanan's having to share Counsellor Troy with Tannenbaum.
Well, there are 8 of you, so... There's more than 8 of you.
He's
1,
got
2,
broad
3, 4.
shoulders.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did Worf do to deserve his fate?
Well, he knew what he was getting into.
He has the patience to answer all the questions for at least a minute.
Right, so we're going to trial using the card system that Foundry offers. So, if you all look to the right-hand column, you should see one icon that looks like a musical note. To the left of that, it should say card stacks. Can you all see that?
Yep.
Awesome. There should, I hope, be a folder that says crew games.
Yep.
If you open that up, you should see a stack of playing cards, something called the middle pile, and your own character's hand.
It has fingers.
So, the middle pile, we can forget pretty much for now. I'll take command of the playing cards, since they are basically the main deck. I'll also take command of the captain's hand and the counselor. So there's going to be no actual visual representation of this like we have with the dice. When we roll the dice, it gives a nice 3D representation. This is, I think, still a very new addition to Foundry as a whole, so no one, to my knowledge so far, has done any modules yet to do a visual 3D representation of cards going down on the table. So we're just going to use what we've got here. So, yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the playing cards, I'm going to shuffle them, and then I'm gonna deal them out. Now, earlier on I posted in the Discord channel what the loose rules for Pontoon are.
Yeah, it's blackjack.
It's basically blackjack, but without the complex betting rules. We're leaving that out for now. So it's basically whoever wins. So everybody gets 2 cards. So I am going to press the deal button. I'm going to check the box for everybody.
Trying to find that link to the rules. No, that's not
except
it.
the middle pile. Everybody gets
okay,
2.
Gareth, for
Yeah,
reference,
just
it's
21.
21.
Yeah, it's 21. Aces are 1s or 11s.
Yeah.
And that's it. Everything else
More
is
cards better.
Yeah, sure. Oh, Sean's just gone rules here. Yeah.
So
five
picture
card
cards are
trick.
10s. Picture cards are 10s. Aces can be 1s or 11s. Everything else is the number you've got. That's as complex as it
And
gets.
you have to hit up to 16. You can't stick below 16
Okay.
if you're playing proper blackjack rules. And 16 is minimum.
For now, we'll just go with the 2 cards that you get dealt.
If people want to stack on 15, they won't win, but they can do it. You know?
Yep.
So, I'll put the cards to here. So, I apologize to those watching. This isn't going to be very visually entertaining, but here we go. So, everybody should have in their hands, in their hand blocks, or hand tables, I should say, 2 cards. So, Counsellor Tannenbaum says, if nobody minds, as a Wayne's breaking the ice, I'm going to be the dealer. Is that okay?
Go right
The
ahead.
The captain says, yeah, fine, go ahead. And she deals 2 cards out to everybody. Okay, so everybody, the first one left of the dealer, so that would be... Oh god, the Antorian Lieutenant, Vazanan? Did I get your name right?
Oh, my family name. You, at some stage, can call me Cavell,
Oh,
but not now.
right. Understood, Lieutenant.
Oh, straight in.
Okay. That was pretty aggressive.
Let me just
Considering-
get my
Andorian.
Ushan. Let me just get my Ushantar and stick it in a bit of twist.
Wow. Well,
I'll draw.
you would like an extra card?
Indeed. Or are we going to bid first? I'm not too familiar with this game.
Well, how about, as a means of breaking the ice, the winner gets to ask a question. And anybody can answer. How's that sound? Cool.
Intriguing.
I'll take the silence as a solid maybe.
For it.
Okay. Okay. You
Not like we can
want...
have a red alert when we're stuck in here.
Okay, so you want an extra card?
Yes.
Let me see then. How do I give you just 1 card?
Can the player click draw on their hand?
Let's have a look.
That
If
would
I
just do it.
click draw, you draw from the playing cards and you want 1 and you do it. Yeah, so Jan, if you look at your hand, you've got draw.
Yep. Cool.
And the default should be you are drawing it from playing cards, which is where you're drawing it from. You only want 1 card, and you are drawing it the topmost one. So yeah, just press draw. Tag face down if you don't want everybody to see. So if you have got a card dealt face down, you can flip it face up in your hand. Next on the line with all your cards, there is an up and down button, so you can swap the face up and down. So there you are. So Cabal now has 3 cards. So next in line is the captain. The captain. What does the captain want to do? The captain also wants to draw a card. Sorry, you're going to say yeah.
If I want more than one card, do I draw again or do I wait for the round?
You wait for the
everybody
round
to
to
draw.
come around.
Okay.
So you wait for them to come around, and it's basically, it goes round, and if everybody wants to draw a card, it keeps going round, but then eventually someone will say stick, meaning they want to stick with what they've got, and it basically goes round and round until everybody has either got a full deck of 5, which is the most you're allowed, and everybody sticks, and then we'll see who got 21 or as close to it.
Oh, bust.
Or bust, yeah. If you go over because you've got too many cards, then you bust, then you automatically lose. So the captain draws a card. Okay, and she just kind of leans back in her chair as she does that. So who's next? Commander Andrews.
I'll stick.
Okay. Next is gonna be Mr. Edwards. So, you're gonna stick, or are you gonna hit? Hit means, give me a card.
Or if you've got the same of one, you can split.
Well, let's keep it
That's
simple for
complicated
now.
links when you play.
How do you flip them?
There's an up-down on the right,
Oh, there.
and yeah, you just flip it.
Okay.
So, next is Vibers.
It's stick for this game, isn't it?
Beg your pardon?
Yeah, I'll stick with what I've got.
Yep. Okay, next around is Nova.
Stick, please.
Stick. Okie doke. Next up, who's next
I
up?
will stick also.
Alrighty. So that leaves the Doctor. What's the Doctor thinking of doing? Sticking with what he's got, or drawing another card?
He's probably got a moss behind his back that's growing another card that he needs.
Sorry, am I on mute or?
It
No,
sounds like you
no.
might be.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can hear you
Oh,
now.
sorry, I might have been. Yeah. I'm sticking.
You are sticking with what you got. Okay. So, next the Counsellor. She's going to draw. So we go back around to Cavall.
I will draw.
Okay. So yeah, remember if you draw and you go over 21, then you bust.
I'm good.
Okay. The captain, what did she get? The captain will stick with what she's got. Did Andrews choose to stick with what she's got?
Yes, I did.
Edwards, were you alright with what you got?
Ooh.
I'll take that as a maybe.
No, I'm drawing.
Nope, he's drawing. Okay, he gets one, gets hit.
Oh dear.
That sounds like a bust.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, alright. So,
I have noticed there's a play card button. Can you actually slap the cards down?
I think you probably can.
They'll probably
yeah,
appear in the middle
if you want to
pile.
move a card to somewhere, I think you press pass, and
Oh no, there's actually a little
Next
button
to
that says
next to
play.
where it says space, it's play. I think I might put it straight to the chat.
yeah. Well,
I'll
I
just
don't
try
know.
and push your bust now. Yeah, just click the play. Alex, if you click the play card, we'll all see what it does.
Yeah, well, I'm bust now, so yeah.
Yeah, well then just play one. Just click, try it, and see what it does.
He
Play-
played it,
he
so it
played
went
cards
out
in
of
the
his
middle pile.
hand.
Yeah.
I apologise for the really poor colouring choice that they used for
Did you see
white
that
text on a
card,
white
or-
background.
No, I did not
That
see it.
card's
Just says,
in the middle
It's
Played
It
pile.
was a
card to
Queen
the
of
middle
Spades.
pile. Everybody can
Oh, you
see the
did.
middle pile.
oh yeah, Queen of Spades. Yeah. There you go.
So then just play the rest.
No, don't
Doesn't
bother.
matter that much.
No, don't matter.
I'm going to send that back to your hand for now.
Tidiness sake.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But now we know how to do that. So yeah, so Edward just shakes his head, puts his entire hand back down, and goes, bust. That's me. And the counsellor goes, oh, I am sorry. Righty-ho. So next up was Vibers. Was Vibers happy with his hand? I forget.
Yes. Confront. Is that the wrong game?
That's the wrong game, Commander.
Nova was all right with her hand, as was Natala. And the Doctor drew. No, he didn't.
No,
he was
I
happy with
passed.
his missing. Okay, so it's back to the counsellor.
Leave it as,
She's going to stick with what she's got, so I suppose that's everybody, isn't it? Everybody's sticking
I
with
could
what
take a
she's
risk.
got. Ooh, you could take a risk.
You're going to use one of your foci to draw on this.
It's
Push
a
the
really
limit
big
of
risk.
the talent.
The captain has, arches an eyebrow as she notices the way that Thazanan's antennae are moving.
I do have 4 cards. I mean, I could get extremely lucky.
You could.
Yeah, let's go for it. I'll draw all or nothing.
At which point, the counsellor does kind of mutter, well, why am I not surprised?
Okay, bust.
Do you have like 19? You're like, sorry, I'm going for the 2.
That's 10,
Yeah,
20, 22, 27, 30 in Thazanan's hand.
20.
Ba-bam. And there's the consequences, says the counsellor. Okay.
so was anyone at 21?
The captain is at 20.
I also have 20.
I'm on 20.
17.
What?
The counsellor is on 12, is on 16. So far...
Hey, so we all win against the house. Yay, we get to ask her a question. Ah!
So everybody had 20.
No, I was at 19.
I had 17.
I had 18.
Oh.
And then I
I'll go
drew
20.
a 10.
I would have felt really bad if I'd go 1 on 20. That's such a, I don't know. That's such a lame win.
So he could have won if he hadn't have gambled. Bless. So
based on the asking of questions thing, is it now a sub-game between those who were at 20?
Why don't we all just ask one if we're at 20?
So if you wanna give your hands back, I think it's reset. All cards in your hand will be returned to the original deck. So you just press yes when it
We're
asks.
pretty much going off the honesty system. I would love if we could slap down the cards, but
You okay, Webby?
5 aces!
I think
It was just watching sort of like Viper's Bertram puts his hand out. It's like, I've got a Joker and the instructions. The instructions of how to play bridge. Like, no one plays bridge anymore in the 24th century.
you don't know. It could be considered retro.
So
Doctor,
Shaun, I think you need to reset your hand.
those cards,
Okay.
those instructions, they're not even from this deck.
do I have to draw 2 cards then? Just press it twice, or
I'm glad I didn't read
No,
the
you-
second part, or I would have said I play the King of Hearts in attack mode.
or are you redeeming?
Okay. Well, the counsellor claps her hands together. Isn't this interesting? Okay, who's going to ask the first question?
Well, apparently you did.
The doctor's funny. That wasn't in the notes either.
Oh my god, you think he's funny?
The doctor looks at
Counsellor,
Bertram looks at
perhaps,
Tannenbaum with a confused look of
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Counsellor, perhaps you'd like to hear some stories about moss when you have a one-to-one session with the doctor.
They might grow on you.
Oh, yeah,
Commander,
I've read about
I
that.
think that's banned by various conventions.
the case, I would not have gotten an award for it.
Yeah, because you're all about the awards.
The,
I only have the one award.
I think you'll find it's 2.
I believe that was a commendation that you're probably thinking about.
It's interesting that you're so keen on distinguishing an award from a commendation, since you're so not keen to share it with everybody. But then, what do I know? I'm just the new girl here. Anyway, next question.
Here's one for you then. What's the worst thing a Q could do?
To
you.
Eliminate the to me personally? Oh, wow. Hide all my notes. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's hide all my notes.
We already know the doctor's answer. So, what does anyone else want to put in?
So you're asking a general question to everyone: is what's the worst that a Q could do to you? I'm pretty sure remove you from history. Completely.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and just say, what's you?
Yes. Good answer.
How about we just draw another hand and try again? Okay.
A definitive winner would be.
Okay, so Miss Edwards, for your benefit, the Q race have dabbled in affairs with the Enterprise crew. They are effectively omnipotent entities that have the ability to change reality at the click of a fingers.
It's another one of these god lot.
Every so
It'd be
often,
interesting to meet one.
One of the oddities of exploration is that every so often one encounters beings of incredible power. Usually as isolated individuals, although occasionally, as in this example, as a collective group.
Do we need to click the next face fit to see what the cards we got are?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so last time it was Lieutenant Fazanen's turn, so the one who gets to start things off this time is going to be the captain. Captain looks at her cards. I will stick with what I've got, thank you. Number 1.
I will stick as well.
Next, it's going to be Mr. Edwards.
Worst.
Okay, here's your card. Hope it's a good one. Commander Vibers.
Give us another one.
I like it. Confidence. Which makes sense because you're a Trill.
But she didn't say she hopes it's a good card. What does that mean?
What do you mean? What does it mean? I always hope it's a good card.
You didn't say it. You only said it for the new guy. Well, the old new guy.
I suppose that would be a commiseration, as the last card that he received was very unhelpful.
I find it very interesting that the one who's afraid of confrontation is trying to confront me. What do I know?
Wait, who's afraid of confrontation?
Nova, over to you.
Can I have a card, please?
I hope it's a good one, the counsellor says, looking over at the Caval.
Oh, but that sounded sarcastic there, Counsellor. So now it's making it out that you don't want it to be a good card.
Nova puts on her best poker face and is just like, yes, it was.
Fibers takes one look at this conversation, downs his pint and grabs a fresh one.
Oh, sorry. Lieutenant Nova, I'm sorry if things are getting a little heated here. I know you don't like to have people put negative emotions out there. even if that's entirely unreasonable to expect. Who's next?
If you truly knew these, you'd also
If
know
I
the
might, a
language.
card would be ideal.
Of course, Lieutenant Commander Natala. Ship's mother. And I hope it's a good card. No sarcasm.
The girl.
Yeah, but then you finished it like that, Counsellor. Sarcasm.
Well, it's
Your
not like...
bedside, your bedside manner's almost as bad as Bertram's.
Well,
Complain about
it's
my
not like
bedside
I'm
manner when
afraid
I'm
of making
helping
the same mistake, unlike some people.
Bertram's bedside manner's really good, as long as you're a pop
You're being quite provocative in order to benefit your analysis.
Am I?
Like the passive
Oh,
aggressiveness.
I'm terribly sorry. I mean, I'm sorry if you feel I wasn't giving enough attention to you, Mr. Edwards. I mean... No, it's fine. It's fine. I'm sure your parents were very nice. Lieutenant Natala, you've had your hand, so that goes around to the good doctor. I mean, not that we'd know how good he is, because he doesn't let anybody know.
But he's got accommodations.
He does. Not that he brags about it. But modesty is a
And
great
also-
quality to have. It really is.
Okay. So, as I was saying, I'll pass, and my blood type is O positive.
All right. Good to know.
Well,
Good to know that you're telling us something, anyhow.
that is what the whole point of this that you proposed, isn't it? You're trying to actually create an analysis of us by getting to know pieces of information about us.
Sounds like she's already read our files.
Wow, they didn't tell me that you were so sharp. But then how would we know, because you don't tell anybody? Anyway,
So are
it's
you
back
talking
around
about
to
me and
me.
Nova now?
Back around to me. I am going to draw. I think I am gonna get hit. Maybe by Lieutenant
Indeed.
Fazanan. Which is interesting, considering he likes to fly away from his problems. Okay.
Sometimes I fly around them.
Are you deliberately now trying to push certain aspects of individual psyches to trigger an emotional response?
Now, why would I do that with Lieutenant Nova here? I mean, she can't have anyone feeling negative. It would hurt. She knows all about that, but she refuses to let anyone see it. I would never
Okay,
claim
my
to
turn,
be...
my turn. I stick a toffee, whatever.
Okay. You're funny, too. I really have to put this down.
What's in the
Captain.
file?
You stuck. Captain is fine with sticking. Which is, well, quite apropos, considering. The captain kind of sighs and at this point puts her hand down and goes, all right. This is becoming plainly obvious to everyone around this table. What exactly are you insinuating here, Counsellor? You seem to be very obvious in your approach here. My number one is not wrong. That comment was meant in regards to something about me, I take it. Well, no, of course not. I mean, yes, actually, maybe. Not that I'm trying to stir the pot here or anything, but, you know,
Well, your
people
entire
talk.
demeanour has changed quite dramatically, Counsellor, since you entered the room to now that we're playing cards.
Are you
I
suggesting
didn't
that
like her at first, but I
people
like her now.
adopt...
She went
You-
quite provocative.
Are you
He's trying
suggesting
to
that
provoke
people
things.
adopt a persona when they play card games against other people?
Depends what they're trying to learn.
Well, indeed. Indeed, Mr. Edwards, it does. Because you're all about knowledge. That's what your file says. Preservation of knowledge, one of the most noble acts that can be done, making sure that people do not forget their pasts. Things that should not be lost or kept, and that's a really admirable quality. Some might even say heroic. It's being a hero that gets you noticed by your parents.
You do realise, Counsellor, that a lot of people are on edge because of the ongoing situation from the Gamma Quadrant incursion. antagonizing ships' crews is not going to help your position, and you're going to put people against you. So continuing along this line of questioning is probably not going to be beneficial, because it will also put distrust and disdain within this crew that's been working well together.
And you have been working well together, and that's been admirable. I mean, you've been through so much, including having your minds taken over or influenced by outside parties. I mean, that can't have been easy. Can it, Lieutenant Thazanat?
How do you know about that?
It's not for me to say that Admiral Stoker put me in this post. Oh, whoops.
I like that.
I think she came in. I knew this was set up by her.
She's definitely growing on me.
So suspicious. And I'm glad I'm growing on you, Nova. I really am glad, because I know you like to make sure that everybody likes each other. Everybody has to be happy. I mean, it's just a mask for you to keep your own pain away, but I'm glad you like everybody to be happy.
You know, having your mind taken over by something is sort of like falling for propaganda.
Go on.
No, that's just it.
Contrite, to the point. You make your point well. Very good. It's a shame you couldn't do that to your clan back on Andoria.
How would they know?
Well, exactly. How would they know? Unless you tell them. Which you didn't do. You just flew away in a spaceship and joined Starfleet.
They should know better.
They should. And traditions need to be challenged. Change needs to happen on a societal level. People need to know what values to keep and what to pass on. Unless, of course, you don't tell them and you don't challenge them and you just fly away from your problems. Not that you'd know anything about that, Cabal.
Flying away is a statement.
It is. It is a statement that you don't want to go to the bother of defending your viewpoint.
I think this card game is completely over now. Shall we get to the crux of the actual conversation as to why you're here then, Counsellor?
Okay, sure. If you don't like the game, maybe we can play another one.
I had a good hand.
Well, maybe we should let everybody put their hands down and see what everybody's got, huh? That would be good. Captain, are you happy with your hand? The captain narrows her eyes and goes, "Yes, I am happy with my hand." Good. Especially if you might have a winning hand, you know. Assuming, of course, you don't self-sabotage. The captain visibly grinds her teeth at this. Commander Andrews, were you going to stick with your hand or take another card?
From the start, I've been sticking.
Okay.
Happy with what
I'm sorry, I've been paying attention to everybody else around. Mr. Edwards, are you happy with your hand?
The awkward
would
pause
say
in the
yes.
suspense.
Everyone's staring.
Alex, I would say yes, you probably would be.
Does that
Considering
come
what I
through?
can see in your hand.
I said currently. Sorry, if it didn't come through, it is in yes.
Yes, you're happy with your hand. Okay. Next up is Vibers. What have you
You're
got?
reminding me an awful lot of Newbon's old teacher. Always was entertaining. Give me another card. Let's see how we go.
All right, press the draw. Okay, are you happy with that?
Yeah, it'll do.
Okay. And who was next? It was Nova.
I'll take a card, please, because it's more interesting where this is going anyway.
Okay, yep, draw a card. Ooh.
Sometimes
All
it's
right.
spare.
And Natala.
Natala is under some stress here. I think I might actually want to make a roll for whether I want a card.
Okay. Feel free.
It's a game of chance to decide what she does with a game of chance.
Yes, indeed.
Ah, it's getting better.
Natala would like to draw a card.
Okay.
The Natala draws two consequences and accidentally punches at the counsellor.
No, she lunges for the council and accidentally knocks out Fazadan, and then just a whole brawl just starts.
Literally, no one had bet on it being your ship's mum to go for a first time.
So he flicks the card out and just catches her in the eye.
So
I play my
did
fist.
you draw another one, John?
Yes, I'm just drawing now.
Okay, cool. Ooh, I'm on pins and needles. Let's see what you got. Ooh. I do not have a poker face.
Quick, stream snipe, stream snipe.
That leaves Bertram. Did you say
I
you were
stuck
happy with
last
your hand?
time.
Yeah, you
I
stuck last time. So
completely stuck.
everybody is happy with their hands. So the counsellor is the last one, and she says, "Okay, I will call." The counsellor has got. Let's see. She's not happy with what she got. She actually does draw another card. Pardon me. I got that wrong. I can't count. So let's see. She draws us further card after that. So. Ah, dang, looks like I'm bust, says the counsellor. So, Jan, how much did you have?
Blackjack.
Hey, 21. Interesting. The captain, she just goes, throws them down. She's got 2 10s, and she got a 20.
You got 21 and then ace and a king.
21 with a jack of spades.
Andrews, what did she get?
Okay.
18.
Okay, so she doesn't really. Edwards, what did Edwards get?
19.
19, so still doesn't beat Thazan's 21. Vibers?
21 on 4 cards.
I need a 5-card trick.
21 wins overall. The only thing that can beat 21 wins. Yeah, the only thing that can beat 21 is the dealer's 21.
I always thought a 5-card trick beats 21.
5-card trick beats a blackjack.
Yeah.
Which
Because
is
it's
Nova.
harder to do.
base card and an ace.
21 for Nova, with 4 cards.
Yep, 4 cards.
Natala.
19.
With Bertram.
Got a queen and a 10 of spades.
So that's 20 on 2 cards.
You know what's
So-
really freaky? I got like sort of like almost consecutive in both of the same thing. In the previous one, I got 9 and an 8 of the same suit. It's like, why are they all so close in the same?
Well, I think Caval wins that one because he got 21 with 2 cards, one of which was an ace and one was a picture card, so.
Yep.
See, now you confront, now you win. So everybody reset their hands.
Still playing after that?
Well, no, that
So,
just sends
Counsellor,
the
I've got-
cards back to the deck.
I've got a question for you.
Sure.
Are you married?
Yes, thank you for asking.
Damn. Because you see, if you're married and I challenged you to a Shaun, then you could decline if you haven't had children yet.
So now you're up for a confrontation. I see. Using
Only when it's
traditional
worth it.
ways, no less.
As much as the conflict may be a quick resolution to this, 1, I don't want to do the paperwork. 2, I don't want to do the paperwork of Mr. Minoko having to clean the floors. 3, I like Mr. Minoko, and his floors will take a lot of cleaning to get the blood out of.
Threats of violence.
She's probably
Okay.
got someone else watching her and us at the same time.
That's rather paranoid of you, Mr. Edwards.
Oh,
I mean, it's
Not really.
good.
Given what I've seen so far, I wouldn't put it past me.
No
one strolls into this situation unless they're so sure that they've got
well,
ace
yes,
in the hole at this
as you
stage.
say, you have strolled into this situation somewhat, Counsellor, and in particular, I am intrigued by your forwardness with both your line of questioning and your openness about your connections.
Well, we've got to be honest here, don't we? And that's the whole point. If I'm to be Counsellor, we have to be honest with each other. Take you, for instance, Lieutenant Natala, Commander Natala. I mean,
Spy.
family orientated, very strong family orientation. But which family?
Indeed.
Because you kind of
Now-
have two going on. One of which you leave behind an awful lot.
Now, your interest in... Now, you're also working at several purposes at the same time in a possibly related manner. You seem to have the intention of both performing your duty and provoking... Now, I'm actually quite impressed if your intention is what I think it is. Because I think you know that our last interaction with the Admiral was somewhat confrontational. And I think you know that when we found out, inevitably, about your connection, we would have then been confrontational with you.
Although don't do too much confrontation. I mean, Nova doesn't like that kind of thing.
Indeed. And instead, you have effectively brought it all out in the open very aggressively.
Confrontation certainly has its places and uses.
Except around you, apparently. Unless, of course, you're defending your family.
I think you misread improving morale as something other than it is.
Oh, no, I'm not misreading. Not at all. I get it. I really do. You can't stand to have negative vibes around yourself because then you remember the times when you were sad. And you don't want to deal with that.
This is just going round and round and playing into the game. Let's just cut through it and just, as you said, put the cards on the table. What exactly do you want from us apart from trying to provoke us?
I want honesty, Mr. Edwards. Like the
About
fact that no
what?
matter what you do, you're not going to get your parents' attention because you've already broken ties with them. What you do is, don't get me wrong, noble. But it's not going to get their attention if it hasn't done it already. And as far as the commander, the first officer sitting next to you, wondering whether or not she's going to hit me, well, you know, she can't help it. She's just going with what her brain has already learned to do, even though she's got amnesia.
I wouldn't say I would hit you, but
Your aggressive, defensive personality and traits are indicative of the person you probably once were, or, more likely, who you wished you were before you lost your memory.
You keep saying you want honesty, but then you're not getting to the point of honesty about what?
I find it interesting that you value the past so highly when you live in the now.
Those
I
who
didn't
don't
catch
learn
that,
a
Shaun.
bit
Sorry,
will
can you
repeat
repeat?
it.
Yeah, can you repeat that, Shaun? I didn't quite catch it.
Find it interesting that you value the past so highly when you live in the now.
Ah, well, it's the past that shapes us. I mean, everyone on this table, as Mr. Edwards can tell you, because the past is his thing, apparently. But everyone on this table is a direct result of who they were, where they came from, where they were when they became that person, and when. We're all a product of our past, of our learned behaviors, of our upbringings, of our response to stimulus as we encountered them when we were younger.
We are a product of our choices. Just like when you chose to sit down at this table and change how you were being portrayed, how you're putting yourself across. You
See,
could wake up tomorrow and decide to be different. It's a choice. It's not anything that made you who you are.
I fully agree with Nova on that.
Which is interesting, considering you the one who thinks you're locked into a routine that you're not sure is going to happen again.
Who was that aimed at?
That was Andrew's, so she aimed that one at.
I gotta say, I'm not a routine.
So, Federation security or intelligence?
It's
'Cause
interesting
where
that
you're
you want to
working,
think that I'm
definitely
here
not
as part of an unofficial interrogation. It's almost like that.
Is it unofficial, considering how things ended last time?
It's almost like that
spy.
rampant paranoia that you have that you're not actually worthy of the role that was given you is starting to rear its ugly head, Vibers.
Shall we play this game fully off the record then? I'm actually going to take my comm badge off and put it on the table.
Might
If
as
we're
well,
going
they're
to
not
be-
working.
If we're going to be 100% honest with each other around this table, then, Counsellor,
Sure. What do you want me to say?
as Commander Vibers asked, which part of Starfleet?
Am
or
I?
is it the...
I'm so glad you asked. I am a graduate of Starfleet Medical, just like any other counselor before me. I just like to cut through all the bullshit that you people put forward.
I think what they're really asking is why did the Admiral choose you?
Well, you all were due a new counselor anyway. I mean, I find it interesting that a ship this experimental went for so long without a counselor. I mean, if there was anything else, anything other that was going to create stress and uncertainty among certain crew members, it was going to be the fact that this ship could, I don't know, blow up at any second, considering the prototype nature of the place. But no, you all soldiered on.
Perfectly safe.
I'm sure it
To be
was.
perfectly honest, this is the most stressful I've been since I've been on the ship, sitting next to you.
I can tell.
You see, when
And
the
I
captain...
imagine it was the same with your parents when you couldn't confront them over why you thought their traditions were so pointless. Sorry, Webby, you said something?
You see, the captain, when we joined her crew, apologies for speaking in front of you, Captain.
No problem,
But
number one.
she deliberately made herself to be the enemy to then build a team camaraderie, someone to focus the resentment so that it built teamship. Whereas you're just being hostile. There's a difference in the level of respect. You will not earn respect by just forcing the issues out into the open, which really, to me, does not feel like the true role of a counselor, which then pushes me back towards the initial bit of you are information gathering for an ulterior purpose, something to do with our last encounter on Bacchus 3.
That's it. Spy.
I think she's more just probing us for how we react under stressful situations.
Now there's the
useful to me.
intelligence of the famed Lieutenant Nova, hidden so deftly behind that scattershot veneer. If only your emotional smarts were as good as your actual logical smarts. Yeah, okay. I'm taking a very aggressive posture here, but let's face it, would you have respected me enough to have given me honest answers, or would you have simply brushed me off? Now, the kind of people who come to this kind of job on an experimental class ship are usually of a certain type of personality. Those who are adrenaline junkies or are really, really curious, or those who are trying to work out their own problems by getting as far away from other people as possible. Take the doctor here, for instance. Could have had a very distinguished career in Starfleet Medical. Chose to come all the way out here to do what you do, which is help explore, find new answers to solutions that could deal with a bit of a change. And it's great. It's fine. It's just a shame that The rest of us mere mortals can't keep up with your fast brain. I mean, that is the reason for the whole I'm boring and I love plants veneer, right?
I'm actually surprised. Either you have very little insight, or you're deliberately completely reversing my intention for being here to try and get some sort of provoked reaction from me. You both know why I'm here.
It truly is that boring.
I prefer straightforward.
Focused, I was going to say.
It's an experimental ship, as you know, and it's stationed in a place where not a lot is known about the area, exploration. And the colony I come from likes to actually know the sort of work that they do actually has positive practical applications for the citizens and the safety of the Federation and Starfleet.
And that's great for a scientist. But your chief medical officer, the doctor, the surgeon, the one who everybody comes for all their minor and moderate and major ailments. The times when somebody gets a scrape, the times when somebody gets a burn, the times when somebody is having intestinal distress because they partied too long into the night. And here you are, in the role that makes people have to come to you for every single little thing, and what do? You give them the whole, have I told you about botany routine. When we all know that you're a lot smarter and a lot more interesting than that. All those medals and accommodations that you've got going would suggest that. Yet there's that veneer.
I'd respond by asking you to bear in mind what the number one rule of the founder of my colony was.
Go on.
Number one rule. Science must always be in service to the Federation, not the other way round. I am a doctor because I believe that is where I can best serve the people. It's not a case of I think I stand apart from them, and definitely not I stand above them. It's that I am a supporter of them. When I heal someone, it's to make sure that they can actually go on and do the best they can, because every individual in the Federation that strives to achieve the best they can without things like injuries as the obvious example holding them back, it's only through the achievement and the ambition of the individual to the common goal, but with every person playing an individual part, that the Federation, generation by generation, becomes something better. That's why I take this post.
Good. Honesty. I like that. That's
I'm
good.
curious as to how much of our personal files you've been given access to.
Well, let me just put it this way. The holes in your there are a lot of black bits of your file, Andrews, which kind of makes sense considering the black holes in your memory. But hey, that's okay. You might not necessarily make the same mistake you made last time. I mean...
How would you know?
Well, that's what we hope, right? But that's what also you might be afraid of. Say if you were the only survivor of a massive attack against the Federation and you were so barely alive that sensor scans for life forms didn't even pick you up, at least not at first. Trauma so horrible that you can't even remember who you were. And now you're driven. Being driven is good. Driven makes for the best Starfleet, but here you are now in a command point and you're starting to... what's the word I want to use? Falter. Uncomfortable, maybe. Understandable. But when you understand how the brain works, especially with cases like amnesia, you know that it's also very familiar to you, the command seat. That's why you're going back there. Your brain goes where it knows. But you're also unsure. unsure that maybe if you do sit in that big command chair at the end of the day, what if you make the same decision that you made last time? The same decision that got the entirety of your crew killed, and only you were the survivor. That's gotta mess with your head. That's gotta make you
Now,
second guess yourself.
I can speak from some experience that I've seen what happens when a command structure fails.
I know you.
The Daystrom incident. It's a tiny little ship, but I don't see that here. And we have as we've said, a strong command crew that have worked together very well, and to my knowledge, have all been acting at peak performance.
I would agree. She looks at some of her pads. I would definitely agree. The captain has made you into the best you could possibly be and a great working team. That's one of her strengths. One of her many strengths. It's just a shame she doesn't live up to all her strengths. Captain looks over at the counselor at this. Go on, we all are interested in what you're going to say about me now. Well, it's what people say about you that concerns you, isn't it, Captain? I mean, that captain, what was his name? The one who graduated top of his class in the same class as you?
Blackwood.
That's the one. Blackford. I mean, he's there bragging about all this he's managed to accomplish, even in spite of you and your family and your family's history. Must have been tough, going through the command structure, earning your way through Starfleet, and yet everybody believing that you might have been up there because of your family. I mean, it's not your fault who you were born to. I mean, your grandfather, your father, your uncle are all in Starfleet, so it was expected. But I wonder, it was a neck-and-neck race with Blackford. Wouldn't it be funny if a certain captain was more paranoid, more afraid of being accused of favoritism if she got the top spot? So she deliberately sabotages her end exam at Starfleet Academy and loses out to an arrogant, egotistical a-hole like Blackford because she would rather that than have to deal with the whispers behind her back that the only reason she was top was because of her family. The captain doesn't say anything to this, but she's working her jaw. And
Maybe
Vipers.
a selfless officer saw a fragile ego and decided not to destroy it by beating his ass.
Well, maybe. And that makes her compassionate, which is a great quality in a captain. Noble. And if that was the case, well, people wouldn't talk, would they? It's a shame that nobody did.
People will always talk.
And they will. Quite. They will always talk. You would know. You're head of this little family. I mean, you're very good at it. The matriarch. But how does it feel having to abandon your biological family every time you go out in space, knowing that that might be the last time you see them?
Abandon is a strong word.
It is. But how do you think your children, and your second children, and your third children will feel when you don't come home again? How does that make you feel, Natala?
They'll know that their mother died in the line of duty.
Indeed, and as you point out, there is a broader definition there. they will have their second parents and their third parents and their fourth parents. This is a benefit.
So, you're comfortable leaving your family because they have backups?
It is a very clinical way of putting it, but certainly that is a value to our system.
So, I admire that. You know your worth. You know your place. So does Dr. Bertram. He knows what he's here to do. He has a clear definition of why he's here. Shame about you, Vibers. I mean, no one could blame you for being a little bit uncertain as to whether or not you're actually qualified. I mean, you're a Trill, a joined Trill, and the Vibers symbiote got some serious history with engineering. I mean, it's kind of unusual, even for a young symbiote like yours, to be so specialized, but hey, I'm sure if the captain can deal with having people whisper behind her back that she got this because of her family, well, having people whisper about you getting this position because of her family as well must be easier for you to deal with. I mean, the whole Trill confidence thing, you know.
This ship's mine because I helped design it, and it's mine to go. The Admiral had very little to do with it.
Even though he mentored you very closely.
Even though.
Excellent. Certainty. I like it. I mean, Nova doesn't have certainty. She still thinks that if she flies far enough, she'll meet her parents that unfortunately aren't here anymore. I'm sorry to say, Han, the further into space you go, you're not any more likely to find them. And dealing with...
implies I'm looking.
And not dealing with that by making sure everybody around you is happy? I'm not sure that's the way to deal with it.
Not having parents. My parents left me with nothing, so no name, no trace. So going to space was my choice. As I said, I'm not defined by my past, I'm defined by my choices.
I like that. I do. And let me say that with absolute honesty. You're right. I have been here on an information gathering mission, but in all truth, the mission was mine. Mine alone. I am, like I said, only 2 years out of Starfleet Medical, and I'm somewhat outspoken on my views of the type of people it takes to come out here into the stars and basically adventure and discover. Everyone out here is a person, and every person is a product of where they come from, when they come from, and who they came from. We can't help that. Some things are just written into us, but there are also some things that happen to us in our pasts that make indelible marks on our personalities. And as Starfleet officers, we're all trained to be disciplined, trained to be in control of ourselves, to be focused. I wanted to see what was underneath that focus, that veneer. Confrontation was the best way I thought to do it. And looking around at you all now, you all know a lot more about each other than you did before.
Some that might be required, but some of us are slightly more open books.
Indeed.
If one were to ask the right questions, I would provide the right answers.
Also took away the opportunity for us to do this organically rather than being forced in a situation.
I know, but considering the type of missions you guys get posted on. Sorry, us guys now get posted on. Who knows when I'll get the chance. But I wanted to meet the command staff of this ship that's been talked about so much, this crew that's being talked about so much. And before you ask, yes, even more than the crew of the Bellerophon.
So
'Cause
just
trust
how
me.
did you disable our ship?
So, what was that, Shaun? I didn't catch that. Say that again.
So just how did you disable our ship?
Oh, yeah, sorry. She reaches into her stack of pads, brings one out, presses a few buttons, and sure enough, the power comes back on.
Thank you.
And the doors unlock.
Commander, I have a request for the head of security if you can. I have evidence that someone's been interfering with the running of the ship against orders.
You assumed that they were your orders, or her orders, or the captain's orders to give.
She was sent here
By
the
all
Admiral.
means, Captain, First Officer, if you really do want to write me up about this, feel free.
Oh, believe me, it's in your report.
Now, I think it would be helpful, with everything open now, shields down as it were, for us to possibly open things up again, because as revealing as confrontation can be, it does also close certain doors.
As we noticed with the First Officer here. It was mostly her fists she was closing, but yeah.
I am willing to continue that conversation without the Counsellor's presence. Because I think you've done more than enough damage in this situation than you've actually tried to help. Yes, you forced the confrontation, as Commander Natala said, but at the same time you've issued a level of resentment that is going to take months, if not years, for the senior bridge crew to fully come to terms with. Your actions have potentially jeopardised the continuity that this crew had.
Or has she just learned more about us in the last couple of hours than she would have done in the first couple of months on board the ship?
But there are ways about going round how you get to know people. You, for one, should know that.
I like her, Birch.
I
Yeah,
have nothing to hide.
Natala won't say anything further on it, but I think it was fairly obvious that she was willing to give the Counsellor the opportunity to either impress her or otherwise fairly early on.
I'll be completely honest, I would not have gone and visited her unless I was explicitly made to. I like this approach.
Doctor says, may I ask a question, Counsellor?
Of course.
Is this mostly precaution in general, or are there any known or suspected things that may be coming up in the future that I should take medical precautions in advance for to keep the health of the ship in mind?
How about I tell you that I think it's time that you guys had a word with Admiral Stoker. Now, I'm going to go right on record here, and she taps her communicator badge. I'm going to go on record here in saying that everything that we just discussed in this room stays confidential, as you would expect. Nothing leaves this room that nobody wants to. And I am now at your full disposal as ship's counselor, but I do expect to see everybody in my office at least once a month, so I can get the general gist of yourselves. But now that I can take this off the record, this wasn't the best approach to take, I admit. But I needed to make sure you were who you're supposed to be, who you say you are. Some of you came under the influence of something, and I wanted to see if maybe strong reactions could tease out the presence of something that's pretending to be someone they're not.
The Admiral's afraid of changelings upon the Navis.
Or something else, perhaps. You'd have to ask her that. But I do have an appointment want for you to speak to her in your conference room. I just have to send the signal that you're willing to meet her.
Monoka, you got one of those Klingon knives lying around?
You've told me I'm not allowed to use those, so... Sorry. I thought it would impress that Klingon captain that you gave the tour to. Apparently knives aren't allowed on board.
Let's just get this over and done with.
If she's gone to this length, there's obviously a reason for it.
That's what I said. Let's just get this meeting over and done with.
Okay, I'm just gonna throw you to the conference room.
She's on board. Oh no.
And en route. Bravo, report, please.
He comes through a lot easier this time. Systems have just come back online by themselves, Chief. Don't know what happened. We're still running a level 5 diagnostic just to make sure everything's working, but so far everything seems okay.
Do you get everything signed off with the port staff as per usual? Assume we've just had a big refit with your checks, though. So do them in detail. Take your
I would recommend that we now contact the station and request delayed departure while we perform an investigation as to what caused the system crash.
You'll find it was an Admiral override.
Well, yes, the Admiral is going to override the fact that we're not going to depart anytime soon because she wants to meet with us.
That's your call.
I think you'll find the shutdown was an Admiral override.
Their chief's already aware of issues that we're dealing with.
Yep. So that's no problem letting the station know.
That's station control.
That's no problem at all. So, you should all be in... Oh, no, I haven't moved you over. I'm a moron. Doesn't take you long to find a turbo lift and go up to the conference room. We're missing somebody. Oh, here it is.
So, are we going up without the counsellor, or is the counsellor still with us?
The counsellor is not with you now. She's she didn't get onto the turbo lift with you, and she said, you find me in my office if you want to talk afterwards.
We know
so the doctor says
now fundamentally compromised.
Is anyone else starting to suspect that there's a known or suspected quality that they either intend to or suspect we're going to be encountering in our missions in this sector?
I'm not following.
Well, first we get a direct confrontation after a literally planetary disaster, telling us specifically not to tell anyone, and we respond, of course, by being rather suspicious about it. Then they send someone who can, with the proverbial flick of the button, cut off our entire ship just to have a conversation about us, to quite obviously test our identities and our mental and emotional states. It was an interrogation as we suspected, but it seemed very much more are these people ready and the people we want for what's coming, not are these people guilty or have screwed up in previous missions.
Yes,
Or it's just a power play to know that.
You're definitely getting this correct. That was my read as well. I just didn't realise it was a question.
Yeah, it was a proverbial question, Jonathan. People with that amount of power that she casually used don't need to make power plays. Power plays for people who have power but are not confident in the power they have. I'm pretty sure that's not her.
Just a reminder that something's going to be expected of us beyond our original positions here.
Oh, that I don't doubt.
But this feels to me like the Admiralty are afraid of the rumours of this Starfleet and Federation infiltration.
Yeah.
But we are light years from the Bejor and the Gamma Quadrant wormhole. I don't know what influence could be pushed on this area of space unless it is to destabilise the relationship. But the Klingons have already invaded Cardassia, which is which is going against the Khitomer Accords. So I don't know how we could destabilize the actual area further unless
I
it's going
think-
to be to push the Romulans against us.
I think your assumptions are slightly going
think it's-
further than.
They don't know what's in the expanse, so they're being
but-
careful with who they.
I think we've gone down the wrong branch of this question.
Or have you?
I think the correct branch was that we're being tested for whether we are holding up under whether our experiences have galvanized us for a future endeavor. Whether that endeavor
Maybe we should go
involves
and see if we
anything.
pass this
Yeah,
test.
yeah.
I
I
agree.
don't think it's-
Is it possible though that the reason she went down this unconventional and not necessarily the best route is because not so much they worried that changes are making a play, it's that more conventional, normal routes.
I think you're making an
may-
unnecessary assumption. It doesn't necessarily have to be
I-
anything to do with changelings.
Yeah,
No,
I don't think
I'm
it's. I
saying
think it's more that
This change effect has come to light very, very recently. In the case of they're not specifically afraid of changing into this, it's just the potential threat of it means they have to be more creative in their methods. Not because they think there are changes necessarily here, just because it's something that people in their position can't assume or have to actually take into account whether or not it's that likely.
may voice something from before I was put into this position, and since being so, from what I've heard, learned, and what I've seen, you've been in very much unconventional situation after unconventional situation.
Yeah.
What if the simple fact is we are probing this unexplored area that they want someone that can react and stay together under something that they've literally got no idea about, something unprepared, something unconventional, and they want to see if we would crack when it comes to more probing of this area.
Yeah.
Simply as they don't know what's there, so they want.
I agree with that, and I agree with the doctor's earlier assumption. I don't agree with the later point that it has anything to do with the threat from the Gamma Quadrant.
What does Caval think of this? Hold that thought, Gav.
Yeah, that's why I paused.
I think there's a lot of speculation going on, but we will probably only know after speaking to the Admiral.
Does make sense while my putting on here. If it's originally I thought it was just well, or Matt, I can't remember what her name was. It was Dr.
Taliaferro.
Dr. Farrow. Originally I thought it was simply for Pharaoh's everything for why
Her
I was
full,
trying to-
her pardon me, sorry. Her surname is Taliaferro. That's her full
Taliaferro,
name.
sorry.
Yeah, my mistake.
It
Sorry.
was. Either way, the reason I thought was more for Taliaferro, Dr. Taliaferro's want to make sure information does get out beyond Star Trek's own records. But
I mean, the Federation has its issues with the civilian governance.
If you'd let me
but-
finish, please. I'm wondering if it was less to do with her and more manoeuvring given my specialities, because I am someone who would be useful when it comes to probing this place, given what I've seen and what I've done on the edges. Now you can continue, please. Sorry.
No, I was about
I've been interrupted a lot
I was about
today,
to say
so-
the same thing. I was basically going to suggest that partly for reasons of ability and partly for reasons of the shared interest of our Admiral, in that I think one of the few things that Dr. Taliaferro and the Admiral of the fleet here have in common are effectively an interest in your line of work. They both appreciate your work, and as one of the few people who they have in common, her assigning you to our operations made sense to me as a olive branch.
Well, no, I'm more thinking beyond of, I would be the person potentially with the Admiralty pick for something like this, something unconventional, but something that my expertise generally comes from my proximity. My homeworld is literally on the fringe. That's how I started getting involved in this. As much as what the good counsellor was trying to prod at. My family's previous dealings and how I broke away from their trade, let's just say. As you probably gathered, I prefer not to... Alright, I'll stop.
A woman walks in who does bear the face that you remember as the one that announced herself as Admiral Bana Stoker. Middle-aged human woman, slightly greying hair, and she has a couple of rather impressive scars on her face. She marches in. My apologies for all of this rigmarole that I put you through. But as you've no doubt already managed to ascertain, I need to make sure. Do you mind if I sit? The captain just kind of looks at everybody else.
She
Fine,
outranks
Captain
us.
will answer.
She outranks us. We can't
Yeah.
actually say no.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Admiral. Thank you, Captain. Admiral Stoker sits down. I'm sure you have questions at this point. Well, let me hope to answer them as completely as I can. I'll start off with... Go ahead, sorry.
Is this conversation on record or off record, Admiral?
Good point. Computer, recognize voice print Admiral Bana Stoker. Voice print recognized. Engage privacy. At which point the windows to the conference room become suddenly frosted over. The doors both lock, and you feel your comm badges all blip off. Very well. This is a private conversation between yourselves and myself. Hopefully, when I finish telling you what this is all about, I can assuage your concerns somewhat. And I hope answer some questions. Firstly, what happened in the Bacchus system has not been an isolated incident, insofar as information that I have. Lieutenant Nova and Lieutenant Thazanan both had an encounter with something, or some things, on Bacchus 4. I believe I have come across others that have had or are having similar encounters. You came across others who had found themselves on Bacchus 4 for no other reason than they felt like they needed to be there. I have encountered similar such people in my time during the last couple of years. There is an epidemic going on, a small epidemic. People are being misclassified by Starfleet Medical, no less, as suffering from a psychological mental disorder that they are labeling as schizophrenia. For those not in the medical field, schizophrenia tends to manifest itself in sometimes audio, sometimes visual, sometimes both, sometimes all manner of perceptory hallucinations, as well as psychotic episodes to do with the severity of these hallucinations. Labeling these things as hallucinations, of course, is contingent on nobody else in the observable vicinity of the patient being able to observe this stimulus or stimuli also. Considering our advancements in medical science in both the physical and the brain, neurological senses, coming across something and classifying it simply as delusional hallucinogenic psychosis seems a bit too simplistic an answer for me. I have attempted to interview at least half a dozen of these patients who have been diagnosed with this condition. They were all speaking to individuals that they believed were nearby somehow, but were not able to communicate with anybody else but themselves. They were all speaking in what was believed to be just a garble, a random splurge of language that wasn't identifiable. But over time of interviewing with these patients, I identified certain repeated words, patterns, which suggested a language rather than just simple garbage. Further, and this is most pointedly, recently, just before your mission to the Bacchus system, and the time and date of these occurrences that I'm about to tell you coincide with the time that Narendra Station picked up the power signatures coming from Bacchus 4. That was when these patients all began to say a word, a name. Bacchus. I believe that these people are not sick. I think they're in communication with someone or something here in the Shackleton Expanse. Now, the obvious question here becomes, why do I think this and why does no one else? Why have you not heard of this? That, my friends, would be a very, very pertinent question. Because every time that I've gone to the Admiralty, to Starfleet Medical, to research and development, anyone who will listen, they have dismissed this and said that there is no quantifiable evidence that these people are being communicated with. And it's true. Betazoids of the telepathic and empathic variety have confirmed that they themselves have managed to make no contact with any so-called presence in the vicinity of these patients. But I believe they're lying. I believe there is a conspiracy afoot. For some reason, people, even in Starfleet Admiralty, are part of a conspiracy to keep us from investigating something that is going on in the Shackleton Expanse. Now, for whatever reason, luck, fate, whatever, you, this crew, have had not one, but 2 encounters with remnants of an ancient civilization here in the Shackleton Expanse. It's possible that what 2 of you here have experienced and what these other patients, these misdiagnosed schizophrenics, may have made contact with might be something to do with this ancient civilization that at one point occupied the Shackleton Expanse. Now, I can't fathom a reason so far as to why higher-ups in Federation and Starfleet will be wanting us to not investigate this. And what with everything else going on, with the alleged infiltration of the Alpha Quadrant by the Founders, the Shapeshifters, I suppose it's possible, but I'm not sure.
Forgive the interjection, Admiral, but...
Of course, Commander.
You do realise that what you're suggesting is that a level of cover-up involved. There's got to be hundreds, if not thousands, of senior Starfleet officers, Starfleet Medical Corps, that is knowingly signing off this level of schizophrenia. Which,
let me also remind you, Commander, that the pyramid of power in Starfleet and the Federation is that pyramid. If someone with sufficient authority, who gets these reports coming across their desk, wishes to keep this a secret, they have the power and authority to do it. And underlings, anybody with any loyalty to Starfleet, will of course simply follow
That
orders.
goes against the fundamental principles of the Federation and Starfleet.
It's exactly how it works.
But the medical corps is sworn to always promote the truth of the situation.
So why would they be keeping this kind of thing a secret? I've asked
Precisely,
that
which
question
no-
myself.
Which pushes it back to, is this not your own paranoia and putting 2 and 2 together and getting 5? I'm not deliberately staying against you, Admiral, but it's one person's voice against the entirety of Starfleet by the sounds of it.
It's
To
7.
add to it,
Go on, Lieutenant.
I was gonna say, to add to that, my experience on Bacchus does not sound like your other patients.
No,
It-
because you reached out. You were searching, and then you touched something. Something so massive it overwhelmed you.
Yeah, but it also knew our language.
Because it was communicating with you telepathically, no doubt. It accessed your mind. What if something this massive tried to make contact with these other people, and the sheer scope of this consciousness, in a similar fashion to what happened to yourself, was more than their minds could take? Lieutenant Thazanan at least appears to have come out of his experience reasonably well. And indeed, the psychological profiles we've run up of him, that I'm sure you must have appreciated with Counsellor Tannenbaum's attempts to prod at your individual's psychologies, prove that so far Lieutenant Thazanan has appeared to have come out of this intact. Maybe it's something to do with your Andorian physiology. Maybe it's your personality or a combination of both. We can't determine that yet. Lieutenant Commander.
Actually, this would be a out of character to establish something, because I'm not sure.
Okay.
Presumably the Admiral would be aware of the AI that Nova extracted from Bacchus.
You would imagine.
Yeah.
If she's the one who quietened you guys in being able to release anything, then she probably knows, because you submitted a report.
Were we made to hand that over, though, or does Nova still have it?
You would have handed it over, but I think if I recall, it was surreptitiously given to Edwards to take to Taliaferro to have a look at.
Right, that's what happened with it. Yeah, that's what I was unclear on. So Stoker knows about it already. Taliaferro has it. That's what I wanted to get to before we moved on to mentioning it.
Everybody good, or does anybody else have any questions to that regard?
Yeah, I don't think Nova would have given it to Edwards, but okay, that's what's happening.
I could be wrong then, because that's what I remembered. I might have misremembered.
Yeah, that does twig something with me as well.
Let's just say so. Okay, now we know what's going on cousin table. Are you sending us somewhere in particular next, or are we just going to keep an ear out for something strange?
Very astute observation, Ensign Edwards. That's
Is
the
Admiral
plan.
Hebert also allowed to know that this conversation has happened, or is that being kept from her as well, as she is our reporting Admiral, unless you're transferring our commands to you?
As of 2 hours ago, I managed to present orders from the Admiralty that presented Admiral Hebert with orders that suggest that I would be managing your missions from here on in consultation with herself, of course. Admiral Hebert is in charge of the station and has overall control of the 20th Fleet, but your direct mission assignments now come from me. Now, for the most part, in order to maintain the appearance of business as usual, any missions that Admiral Hebert feels the needs to be handed out to yourselves will come through me, and I will give them to you. However, as we keep investigating the Shackleton Expanse, I may, on occasion, ask you to go on certain missions that may expose us to more clues as to what might be going on in the Expanse. So I will occasionally, if I can find any information worth investigating, ask you to go on specialist missions. You will report, in that case, directly to me, and it will be then up to me to file the necessary mission reports, which, until we have anything concrete to prove or disprove what I believe is going on, will have to be altered by myself in order to present business as usual. Now, I know you all probably have concerns for this, but I think that you are the crew for this job. You took on the difficult assignment of flying a new warship, which is dangerous work. I know you're up for this challenge. You proved it again to me today, thanks to Counsellor Tannenbaum. I think that you're just as curious as I am about what might be going on here. And I think you're just the crew to find out the truth. And that's what I want to know, the truth. If you have any other questions to ask me, anything you still feel is an issue that needs to be settled or addressed, now would be the time to do it.
Is there any evidence that the Klingon activity might be related to your suspicions?
I have no direct way of knowing, but I suspect this is more to do with the paranoia regarding the shapeshifters than anything else. Knowing what we know of the Klingons, I would assume it's more their nature as hunters to not like to be the idea of not liking to be prey is driving them down this rather paranoid course. But you make a good point. Do we know for certain that this discord that's now popping up between the Klingons and the Federation isn't the direct result of some kind of outside influence? Maybe even the influence of whoever's trying to stop us from investigating by destabilizing things even all the way out here. You've given me a lot to think of, Lieutenant.
Do you have any... if you're having a issue with the structure of the Federation with regards to this possible conspiracy, what about those outside of it? Do we have any reliable sources in for example, Dr. Olivero's administration?
Of course, you gave her the artifact.
Indeed.
Taliaferro is many things. I think Mr. Edwards here could attest to the fact that Taliaferro is nothing if not upfront about everything she stands for and believes. Her ability to be part of any conspiracy, I think, is...
We can
unlikely.
trust Dr. Taliaferro to be Dr. Taliaferro.
Indeed. She has her psychological profile suggests that she has a burning desire to solve puzzles, and that's the long and short of her. If you think that she's trustworthy, then I can agree with that. Understand, I'm looking for you to help me here. So there needs to be a certain amount of trust, which I'm sure is hard to come by at this point. But I'm putting my trust in you. So, do you want to help me uncover a lost truth?
I would say that puzzle solving is a similar interest of ours. Whether that would extend as far as you've implied, but Perhaps.
All right. You still have the rest of your day, the next 4 hours to get your ship together. I will quietly return to the office where I have stationed myself on Starbase 364. The ship that I arrived at the Starbase on has been delivered elsewhere. I will maintain my vigil here in Narendra Station. You are to resume your previous engagement as given by Admiral Hebert. You'll go to the Kalmuri system and investigate there the incident that was asked for, that Admiral Hebert asked you to investigate. And if and when is needed, I will call upon you directly. We will assign you your mission to myself. Any questions?
Will we be given access to additional resources while under your command?
What were you thinking, Mr. Edwards?
Potential records that we wouldn't have access to normally, that would be useful in this exploration and understanding of what's going on.
I will make sure that you have database access to whatever archaeological data you need to put the pieces together. Certainly. I can arrange that.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any requests to make while we're here?
Well,
No?
if we could make use of your privacy screen for a few moments to discuss to discuss this problem effectively. I don't believe we've had a proper moment to debrief one another as to the similarities between the various alien incidences we found in the Expanse thus far.
All right. I'll let you mull it over then.
I have one request, but it's on a personal note.
Of course, Commander.
I'd like my personnel file because it seems that Counsellor Tannenbaum knows a lot more about me than I do.
Rest assured, I've seen that, and it's, well, redacted in a number of places. For what purpose, I don't know currently. If you wish, I can have a dig around to see why someone would redact your file. Very well. The Admiral gets up. Mull it over. If you have any more questions, you'll be able to reach me on Narendra Station. Continue as normal.
How long is the Counsellor staying with us?
For the foreseeable future.
Mm-hmm.
You need a counselor. And you need a way of getting hold of myself. But Counsellor Tannenbaum works for you now. She is not under my direct command. She is not a sleeper agent. I merely asked her to evaluate you according to my own specifications. And you've passed. And that's why I'm asking you to undertake this mission. Thank you for your attention. I'll see myself out. She walks out. Okay.
And this is what the Taliaferra doesn't trust the Federation fully. This is exactly why she chose me. Because I did have the ability to report to her certain things that I was able to see and make sure get out to other people.
So in other words, you are a spy.
No. Just
Within-
she
It's
doesn't
certainly
believe
not
that.
helping us trust you right now.
That's what
No,
a spy would
it-
say.
to look at things from a different point of
Nothing
view.
classified. Just she doesn't believe that certain information that could benefit people could go away. If it's dangerous, naturally, I'm not to share it. Just actually things that could potentially help some people. She wants to at least be kept privy of, rather than it all being tucked away in a filing cabinet and left to rot. Like some of Mr. Bertram's discoveries, I imagine that some of them will be used to help people. Some might be just locked away by the Federation and just forgotten.
Now, to bring us back to the conspiracy at hand, what do we actually know? Ignore the whole idea of the conspiracy and go back to the basics of what even were they either covering up or incidentally shoveling it into a drawer. What have we actually encountered?
Now I want my AI back from Talifair.
Yeah. We can use your initial concerns. I'm sure that she knows how attached to it you are already, and is probably anticipating your snatching it back at the moment's notice. But so there's probably not any additional explanation needed to achieve that. But yeah, we've come across the terraforming machine, and then this larger, but in some ways similar operation in Bacchus.
Well, what do people think? That much? Wow.
What we've observed to date doesn't give us anything of true value. We've experienced two situations that other people have passed by without receiving anything from it. There are rumors of ancient civilizations that dominated the galaxy.
Like the Iconians.
Yes.
What was the ones the Klingons were talking about? Attack? From their history?
The Tribbles.
Yeah, them.
Oh, I know what you mean.
Definitely the Tribbles.
Hook?
That's the one.
They always have been. It's sadly some of my family ties have seen things that have been sold on certain markets that have been coming in and out.
So you're a smuggler and
No, not
spy.
me. I'm not a smuggler. I never said that. I said my family. If you have been paying attention, you know that it's been very much brought up why I've broken away from them.
Yeah.
Trading family that will trade with certain things. Not illegal, just things that have been found.
Davis, you were going to say something?
How close to the Syndicate are your family?
Ooh.
Not that kind of thing. There's just when you're this far out on the frontier, people trade and barter with what they can find.
Getting back on point, interjects the captain. Commander Andrews makes a good point. Lieutenant Commander Natala, last I remember viewing those records of what we found on Seku 6 and on Bacchus 4, the only similarity I've seen so far is the pentagonal design nature of these constructions. So far, that's the only similarity that I think is that and the enormous power generated.
With permission, will I be able to potentially cross-examine some of these things? Because I've only had our latest mission to go on. Everything else has currently been restricted.
Of course.
So I might actually be able to help on that.
I will make sure that the information is given to you, Ensign Edwards.
Thank you, sir.
Captain, we should also consider the possibility that the controlling influence is not physical and would just take whatever host form would be useful. There might not be an obvious correlation between the two different civilizations, even though there is a direct link.
the thing that I made contact with wasn't hostile, it was just lonely.
So let's not draw lines and connect dots where the pictures might be entirely different. I'm of a mind to agree.
Each thing is a case-by-case basis until we find similarities.
Doctor, you've remained pretty quiet during all of this. I want your thoughts. Unless, of course, he's muted himself.
Hello?
Yeah,
Hello?
we got you.
Yep, you're back. You're back.
Yeah, I heard that. I was just thinking about, well, I believe it was Commander Edwards said that some of the stuff the
Commander
Admiral was...
Edwards.
Promoting
Not
him
yet, he's
slowly.
not.
Not Edwards, sorry, Andrews.
Very good.
Said about the description the Admiral gave of the actions the Starfleet Medical would have to do for a cover-up at this level would be completely against the very purpose and ideals of Starfleet Medical. I've been trying to work out what the most likely scenarios would be, and the only two I can really come up with are either the Admiral is incorrect to a dangerous level, which makes her dangerous, or Starfleet Medical is severely compromised, which is of course obviously a terrible thing, or possibly in my mind at least the scariest one, higher ups in Starfleet and Starfleet Medical and similar related areas made a discovery that they judged the knowledge of it coming out would be catastrophically bad to the health of the Federation citizens as a whole, which frankly is probably the one that I dread the most. Unfortunately, all three potential options are bad to the point that they couldn't be ignored. What we need is more information, and it seems the only avenue at the moment to get that information is to progress.
You do make a good point, Doctor. This could all be in the Admiral's head.
Sir Vibers, do you have any thoughts? As you've been quite quiet as well.
I'm just wondering which department this admiral actually reports to.
Well, if she's
Because there's
part
always
of the
a
Admiralty.
rumour of Starfleet intelligence isn't quite as open about its parts, isn't there?
You're suggesting that perhaps this is some kind of intelligence black ops that she's trying to get us going without telling us exactly what it is that we're actually going. You think this is a cover story?
We got introduced to her by a "keep your mouth shut, you are being censored by the Federation" as effectively her first order to us, so it's not that much of a stretch.
Kano makes a very good point. But the Doctor also makes a good point. If we want to figure out what really is going on, then I'm afraid at the moment the only way forward is to go on for the ride.
I agree. I think I don't mind the Admiral giving us any missions, but I think we should be very careful about crossing our T's and dotting our I's when it comes to how we behave.
Whether she is paranoid or rightfully going up against a conspiracy, either way, our paperwork had better be in order.
Nova, your opinion?
At this point, I trust the Admiral more than I do Taliaferro and Edwards, so I'm fine with going with her.
Well, I, for one, am fully trusting of Mr. Edwards. I'm at least trusting in Taliaferro's honesty in this regard, and believe me, I've dealt with the woman. I was under no uncertainty that you were going to be part of my crew. But I wouldn't have allowed it if I didn't think that we could make a good officer out of you, Edwards.
Thank you. If I was really up to nefarious means, I wouldn't have been as brazen as to be open right now.
Yes. That, and I agree that Dr. Taliaferro is not the sort of person that would... She'd probably be the person I would go to in the Admiral's position, rather than...
I said she's just one potential news discovery that could help everyone, just locked away and forgotten. That's all.
Which is a danger in itself when dealing with conspiracies, in that she might just go and reveal something to the wrong person.
Which
But
is, I wouldn't be... No, I meant in general, my person. This type of situation, I'm not dumb enough to go spreading that kind of thing. Give me some credit.
No, but when we're done here, can you meet me in engineering? There's a few checks we want to do just after we depart.
Okay.
It's a good point. If we're to maintain the outward veneer as business as usual, we need to start getting ready for our mission to the Kalmuri system. This has given us all a lot to think about, and we didn't exactly start it off in the most comfortable manner. Regardless of my team-building techniques, the Counselor's rather brazen and confrontational method of exposing us to each other was either ridiculously stupid and, well, dangerous, or it was possibly one of the most genius moves for creating trust between people. Either way, this is going to be a tough one to manage. We now have no straight idea who it is we're going to trust with information, except to keep it amongst ourselves.
As if it put some people at ease, I would be willing to go through whatever additional security checks would be required in order to provide confidence.
With all the additional security checks we're all already going through in order to pacify our Klingon brethren, blood screenings and regular check-ins and whatnot, I think we're all doing very well on the passing securities.
I meant more personally myself, I'm up for those who are feeling uneasy about my honesty.
Either way, I can't say I'm comfortable with any of this, because either way we're lying to somebody. Either we're going to be lying to Stoker because we don't trust her, or we're going to end up lying to somebody else because we do trust Stoker. On top of all the rampant paranoia we're already dealing with the shapeshifters.
I will say this.
Stability on a sector level anyway, considering that between, all the information, much of which is probably rumour and gossip about a mysterious new enemy through the gateway at Bajor, and the Klingons now making an aggressive invasion into Cardassian territory. We're getting to the point, at least from my point of view, where this entire part of the galaxy that the Federation and its neighbours inhabit could become so much on the edge. It just needs one large thing to go wrong to make it all blow up.
I agree. If the Klingons formally withdraw from the Khitomer Accords, this is going to be a very interesting situation we're in. It's going to get even more difficult than what we're already dealing with.
Especially the sort of thing I was thinking of that could be the canker that sets it all off at the wrong moment could be either some sort of conspiracy engulfing the highest echelons of the Federation, or an admiral and the resources and people loyal to them who believe that there's one there who might try and actually do something about it and be interpreted as performing a coup, regardless of not of whether that's the intention. The perception of it could cause chaos just as much as an actual threat.
So also, based off our last adventure, let's just leave it as, we do know of other factions that are poking around this area.
Yeah.
What is it? the expedition we had was other members of the Federation, Klingons, Vulcans, and the Romulans.
I don't think they are all actively poking around. The Vulcan Science Academy delegate was here because he was a scientist.
Yeah,
From memory, the Klingons were
Right.
just in the area. The Federation vessel that
they're all
several-
pulled in, but it's more the whole. If more than, right, we only know of our own records of people that have been pulled in. If we don't know how many from the other sides have also been, and how much they've been monitored.
You mean how many people from the Klingon Empire have suddenly started spouting
Like being drawn
name
in
of the
like
system?
it was to Bacchus. If there's any,
Yeah.
if the Admiral thinks there's something similar going on, then we've only got those
Well,
who are
then
in the
we might
Federation that's
yeah.
been doing it. We don't know of the other side.
Exactly. So we would expect then there to be a similar clamouring from at least one of the Klingon houses of we had a bunch of people suddenly saying Bacchus.
Or was it the Romulans? Or
Yeah,
someone?
well, yeah. I wouldn't expect the Romulans to tell anyone.
Oh, no, I mean that's the point. I'm just saying is we don't know what on the other side what's going on, and there's a chance that if it's dragging from one place, or things happening with one people, it might be the others. So we might be the only ones looking around this area.
That might be a safer source of information. If we're worried that the information that the Federation has is being held up in a conspiracy of some regard, then we might have better luck seeing whether the information gathered by others in the area, such as the Klingons, was held up in a similar conspiracy, or whether they have been entirely open and available with their information.
We do technically have someone we could ask, or at least on the Klingon front.
We also have someone to ask on the civilian front.
Are you looking at me?
Not
No. What about your friend the Erienne?
Yes. Good point.
What about your floozy as well? Sorry, your interest, your relationship interest. I do apologise. Your relationship. She will hear things from her position.
That would be presuming on the conspiracy, and presuming
It would be worthwhile finding out what information the higher ups in this area know. Even if it's just snippets of information, it's additional fact finding. We've got potentially 3 sources of further information gathering.
My only caution with talking to her is I do not want to preemptively give away anything. I mean, I will listen for any information which is relevant, but I would hesitate to ask any leading questions.
We're going to have to play the situation very carefully, like you say. I think it's going to have to be more a case of active listening rather than direct leading questions.
Yes.
To any route that we try and gain further information on.
I mean, would it be too much of a leading question to look into mental health issues amongst various groups? Just would that be too much already?
The one to be careful of is that she's an admiral's aide.
Yeah.
She is the most likeliest person on the whole station to be scanned by telepaths.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think anything even near Admiral Hubert, I think, is far too much of a presumption, because if you start questioning people based on rank alone, you're just going to end up down a rabbit hole.
Yes, but at the same time, admirals and their aides hear things. It's just mainly trying to find people that would potentially have different sources of information that we can tap into.
Okay.
I don't like the situation we're going to be put in on this. We are going to put... We can't even tell the rest of the crew that this entire incident has happened.
I think if we were to treat it as and except at the point where we have to make reports, when we then are, as the captain says, being very cautious about where our reports end up and what information ends up where. But if we were to, at least around this table, we're going to be treating not on the questioning of random facts and trying to seek information from without. What if we are the ones who find the answers with our exploration? If we crack this by finding the ancient alien information on the front lines, as we would do anyway. We solve this problem by looking into more of their artifacts, more of their buildings, finding these mostly artificial planets.
We also vaguely have an energy reading from that last one, so we might be able to fine-tune scanners.
Indeed, we might find some similarities between how they moved around that metal to construct it and how the material generation from what was it, Secundus
Secus 6.
Secus 6 worked.
Indeed, we have avenues to pursue, but it very much feels like we're going to be alone in this one.
The lieutenant did just raise an interesting point. What are we going to tell the rest of the crew about what's just happened? For my guys, I was going to tell them this was probably just a security drill by an admiral, being a bit overly zealous.
No.
It's a system
Too
error.
obvious. Yeah. Simplest issue is a system error.
That's what we were running off already.
I just got them to go and investigate. If they find anything that points at this being instituted by someone on board, I don't want there to be a witch hunt.
Surely it would come up as a system crash. The system triggered itself to start a level 5 diagnostic.
Unless they track it back to the pad. In which case...
I'll see what they find out. If they don't find it came from that pad, it's a system error and we'll never know. If they do, it's a security test. If that sounds fair?
It sounds fair to me. We'll go with that for now. I'm going to need you all to keep an eye on your departments. People start asking questions. Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. For now, we treat this as business as usual. The system error, whatever it is they find, was what delayed us. It happens. We don't treat it as anything more than that. We let the crew continue thinking that this is business as we have always conducted it. The fact that we are getting orders from one admiral and then another, for now we're just going to have to brush it off.
I've just realised we have a potential issue.
Go on.
Our operations officer can't lie. Can you, Nova?
She can't
No
lie,
intention of lying.
but what you can do is at least tell the truth. We're being ordered by an admiral to keep our mouths shut about certain things.
Okay. And
Nova, I know you don't like to lie, but I know you at least have the smarts to know when not to reveal the truth. For now, I'm going to ask you to have to stonewall with a default answer of "that's classified" if they ask. But you and Natala both have the ear of most of the crew, so I'm going to need you both to basically tell them the truth. This is still business as usual. We are still being given orders, we're still being given missions, we have to go out and do them to the best of our ability.
People are going to need reassurance increasingly with the struggles that they are aware of anyway. The Klingon security checks are already becoming stressful.
True. So your duties as morale officer, Nova, are going to be still required. We need to make sure that the crew doesn't start, with all the paranoia we've got going on already, start looking to each other and wondering if their roommate is perhaps part of something. This is going to get out of hand if we let it get out. So, Nova, at least consider that. If we let too much out, people may start to question their neighbors. And we don't want the crews to stop trusting each other. It's true for all of us. I don't know how we're going to deal with this whole thing, but we're going to have to. I helped put this team together, but you're the ones who made it work. You're the ones who continue to make it work. So I feel certain in my faith in all of you to keep going forward and dealing with this as we always have. We come across the situations as we come across them, and we deal with them in the best way we find at that specific point in time. Whatever else happens, I suppose it'll fall on my head to deal with. But for now, I think we've talked about all we can. We're just going to have to see what happens from here. And on that note, I think we're going to have to leave it there for another week. So,
Okay.
yes, lots of interesting stuff.
I'm paranoia.
And paranoia.
Paranoia Flatude really is trying to take over Starfleet.
It's only paranoia if you're wrong.
Exactly.
The
Be honest,
Admiral
get
sits.
called a spy by 2 people.
Yes, the Admiral sits down at her desk and then just unzips a face mask, and it's just Latude, and he just leans back in his chair and goes,
It was me all along!
He just walks out of a cupboard with a remote control. It's like he's finally released some of the clones out of the buffer.
Yeah, the only thing that Andrews will ask on a personal level with the captain is, how much do you know about my background?
She will reply with, I know all I she says, I know all I need to know about you, Sophia. And that is the person that I see in front of me and the person you've been this far. I don't need to know anything else.
Okay.
So,
No,
well-
for Shaun, what Vipers will be talking to you about outside is, we did have a computer error. Somebody gave the Counsellor enough permissions in order to turn off the feckin' ship.
That's not an error. That's a design.
That's an error. They shouldn't have that permission.
Yeah, only
Let's
Section
take a bit
31
of-
should have that permission.
wait.
No, only the captain should be able to do that. So, let's have a look and see if we can make it so that they can't do that again.
Yes, so lots of interesting things are abounding as we continue the story of the USS Navis. But for the moment, in regards to everybody watching, we will continue this adventure next week, regular time, and we hope to see you all there. In the meantime, everybody take care of yourselves, live long and prosper, and hailing frequencies closed.